The first sequence this video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 526 New A-Level Mission. The convoy arrived at the number 77 barrier of Zhou Corporation, which is closest to Luocheng, in the afternoon of the same day. This is the outermost barrier of Zhou Corporation, and the number 73 barrier where Ren Xiaosu and his team had done missions before is the core of Zhou Corporation. After arriving at number 77 barrier, Feng Zhi showed the customs clearance documents to the guards. Ren Xiaosu found that these people seemed to be very familiar with the tour and had prepared all the procedures in advance. However, before entering the barrier, the tour team was collectively brought into the barrier and passed a careful security check before being released. Zhou Yingsu whispered, "There were no such steps to enter Zhou Corporation before." Ren Xiaosu nodded. Fearing that it was because of Zhou Ziling's death, the entire Zhou Corporation raised the alert level to prevent anyone from entering the barrier and causing chaos. During the security check, some staff members asked Li Ren for an autograph. Ren Xiaosu asked curiously, "Is this Li Ren famous? How come even Zhou's people know her?" Zhou Yingsu almost laughed out loud, "Master, you are too out of date. She is a popular female singer now. Her tapes are sold all over the south. Although this is her first time here, many people have heard her songs. Even the audio-visual store in Yang's barrier had her tapes. Many young people like them. Aren't you also a young person?" "So that's what happened," Ren Xiaosu suddenly realized. He explained, "I didn't pay much attention to this before. After all, people who need to think about survival every day, how can they have time to pay attention to these stars? I remember that Sister Xiao seemed to have a favorite female singer later, and she still had tapes of that female singer at home, but Sister Xiao just listened to her songs. People like them find it difficult to have any admiration for such an illusory idol." After entering the fortress, Ren Xiaosu found that many residents of the fortress had gathered on the roadside, holding homemade support signs with small shining light bulbs on them. Ren Xiaosu sighed, "Why are there so many people? Do so many people really like her?" Zhou Yingsu glanced at Ren Xiaosu and found that the master was more annoyed with Li Ren than she was, which Zhou Yingsu was very happy to see. At this time, Zhou Yingsu discovered that the touring convoy deliberately slowed down while passing through the road, while Li Ren opened the car window, waved to the fans cordially, and even took the fans' notebooks to sign for the fans. Zhou Yingsu said in the car intercom, "Please pass as soon as possible. The crowd here is too dense and there is a great possibility of hidden safety hazards. Please pass as soon as possible." As a result, the voice of Assistant Feng Zhi sounded in the intercom, "This is a good opportunity for Ren to get close to the fans. It will greatly help her friendly image, so it cannot pass as soon as possible. Please keep following at a constant speed, and please don't interfere too much, Miss Zhou." Zhou Yingsu rolled her eyes in the car. The safety awareness is too poor. If someone hides a knife in a place like this and suddenly stabs her, even a god won't be able to stop it. Ren Xiaosu leaned back in the co-pilot seat and said leisurely, "Why do you care so much? If something happens to her, my mission will be considered a failure," Zhou Yingsu complained. At this moment, Ren Xiaosu looked at his phone and said, "I'm going out for a while and will be back at the hotel tonight. You deal with it first." Zhou Yingsu looked at Ren Xiaosu in shock, "Master, are you going to do a mission alone again? Why do you always leave me alone? Please let those D-level and C-level killers go. I'm a little panicked when I'm alone." Ren Xiaosu glanced at her and said, "Take care of this. I'll give you 20% of the money from the stolen phones." Zhou Yingsu immediately put on a smile and said, "I wish you a successful mission." After saying that, Ren Xiaosu opened the door and jumped out while the car was moving, and merged into the crowd. However, his action was still seen by Li Ren. She turned around and frowned and said to Feng Zhi, "Why did that kid act on his own?" asked Zhou Yingsu. Zhou Yingsu's reply was that in order to ensure Li Ren's safety, Ren Xiaosu was sent to investigate. Li Ren asked Ren Xiaosu to come back and stay by her side. As a result, Zhou Yingsu said that it was Zhou Yingsu herself who took the task, not Ren Xiaosu. Li Ren was helpless now. She suddenly found that she didn't seem to have any good way to restrain Ren Xiaosu. Zhou Yingsu was thinking that D-level and C-level killers were the cornerstones of Anjing Temple's mission execution. Many small figures relied on D-level and C-level killers to execute. Their tour team had to pass through 37 barriers, including 90% of the barriers of Zhou and Kong. After this trip, would the foundation of Anjing Temple that had been operating in Zhou and Kong for many years be wiped out by Ren Xiaosu? Based on the fishing method of her master, this was very likely to happen. At that time, why would they join Anjing Temple? I'm afraid that Anjing Temple would find out and issue a task for all A-level killers to hunt them down. After all, when Anjing Temple had careful people, they would find that the process of the disappearance of the D-level and C-level killers was exactly the same as their tour team. If it was just 1 or 2 barriers, it would be fine. But if all 37 barriers were like this, even a fool would know that there was something wrong with her, Zhou Yingsu. No, she had to talk to Ren Xiaosu about this. She had to take the sustainable development route. But this time, there was no shooting incident like last time. Ren Xiaosu solved the killer and the target silently. When he returned to the hotel at night, Ren Xiaosu had 7 or 8 more mobile phones in his hand. But before he could be happy, Zhou Yingsu's mobile phone actually received new text messages, and 3 at a time. Ren Xiaosu looked at the 3 tasks. 2 of them were too far away, in the Kong family barrier, and the third one made his eyes light up. The target is inside the barrier number 77, the residential building number 121, Xiangwu Road, the former core figure of the Yang family, Yang Liken. The target has followers around him. It is recommended to form a team of no more than 3 people. The reward is 800,000. Then, there were photos of Yang Liken and some information about Yang Liken, including some things about him bullying the people during his management of the barrier. But there are some things that are not mentioned here, such as Yang Liken once sent someone to send a defense map to Qingzhen, which pitted the Yang family troops on the front line of Jiang. In the end, he failed to become the head of the Yang family. After all, the Yang family consortium no longer existed. He could only take advantage of the time when the Qing family dispatched troops to the south to deal with the experimental subjects to escape. Don't mention it, he really escaped. Ren Xiaosu said, reply to Anjing Temple, we will accept this mission. Zhou Yingsu did as he was told, but what surprised them was that Anjing Temple did not approve their mission application, but rejected Zhou Yingsu. Chapter 527 Hardcore Grab Mission. The reason why Anjing Temple did not allow Zhou Yingsu to accept the mission was also very simple. On the one hand, it was because Zhou Yingsu is currently carrying out a protection mission. Although the mission target was inside Barrier 77, carrying out a new mission would inevitably affect the current protection mission. If Zhou Yingsu was injured or died while carrying out the new mission, it would have a certain impact on the reputation of Anjing Temple. On the other hand, it was because Zhou Yingsu was alone and could not find teammates to cooperate within the black market, while someone else had already set out from the black market. The other party was 3 A-level killers, and it was safer to carry out the mission than Zhou Yingsu. It was not that one person could not take the mission, but when a more suitable team took the mission, it would be difficult for one person to grab the mission. Zhou Yingsu was a little angry. We are obviously the closest to the mission, why don't we accept this mission, and that Li Ran won't let us protect him at all, unless I attend an event, I won't get close to him. In this case, I have time to do other tasks. In fact, she also understood that Anjingxi's decision was correct. After all, the other party didn't know that there was a terrifying Ren Xiaosu around him, so according to common sense, Zhou Yingsu is really too busy now, and Yang Liken obviously has a small group of armed forces around him, and he is also protected by Zhou. Yang Liken left the southwest and came to Zhou. Because he was very familiar with the geography and politics of the southwest, he was immediately protected by Zhou and provided with good food and drink. An organization like the consortium will definitely not miss the opportunity to get first-hand information. Master, what should we do now? Zhou Yingsu asked. We can complete the mission now. And if they don't let me take any missions during the protection mission, the remaining 2 missions will definitely not be completed. Ren Xiaosu thought for a while and said, I'll go out for a while. That night, Li Ran came to Zhou Yingsu intentionally or unintentionally to explain to her what happened during the day, saying that a public figure like her couldn't miss such an opportunity to establish a good image, so he asked her not to take it to heart. However, Li Ran still explained that Zhou Yingsu didn't need to protect him deliberately in the future, just to keep a good appearance. Although the content of the words was not pleasant to hear, Jo Yingsu was a little confused. Why would Li Ren come to explain such a thing to her in person? As a result, after Li Ren finished talking about these things, he asked, "Where's Ren Xiaosu?" "Oh, he's still outside investigating," Jo Yingsu explained. At this time, Jo Yingsu realized that the other party was here to find Ren Xiaosu, and he didn't come directly to find him, but actually tried in a roundabout way. After Li Ren left, Ren Xiaosu suddenly came in from the window carrying a person on his shoulder. The person on his shoulder was already unconscious. Jo Yingsu was stunned and said, "Master, who is this?" "Yang Liken," Ren Xiaosu said calmly. "But we didn't accept the mission." "It's useless even if we kill him," Jo Yingsu said helplessly. Ren Xiaosu remained calm. "It's okay. Since Anjing Temple has let other killers accept the mission, they can't find the mission target, so the mission will naturally fail. Don't worry, everyone who saw me is dead." This ambush and arrest was very successful. No one knows where Yang Liken went. Jo Yingsu was stunned. "Why is your master's brain circuit different from others? He is so hardcore in snatching missions?" As long as other killers can't find the mission target, when Jo Yingsu says she can find it, then Anjing Temple will have to let her do the mission. This is taking other people's paths and leaving them with no way to go. Moreover, Ren Xiaosu explained, if these 3 A-level killers cannot complete the mission, they will definitely not be able to participate in the Anjing Temple selection next year, so you have lost 3 opponents invisibly. It is really a matter of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Jo Yingsu covered her face. She suddenly began to worry about the A-level killers who were going to compete with her for the Anjing Temple quota. It was really unfortunate for these killers to meet an opponent like their own master. She tied Yang Liken up, stuffed a towel in his mouth, and then stuffed him into the closet in the hotel room. She worriedly said, "It's not good to always have such a person in the room. What if he struggles after waking up? There are people cleaning the hotel every day. Hang up a do not disturb sign and don't let him wake up," Ren Xiaosu said. "Let's wait and see. Barrier number 77 is very close to the black market. I guess the 3 A-level killers have arrived outside the barrier, and may have already come in. We only need to wait 3 more days and then we can ask Anjing Temple for the mission." Jo Yingsu stretched herself, and suddenly she felt that it was a wise decision for her to stay and continue to follow Ren Xiaosu. Following such a master, there was nothing that could not be accomplished. Others accepted missions, but Ren Xiaosu went directly to Anjing Temple to ask for missions. Of course, it was not such a weird brain circuit, and he would not just think about fishing for D-level and C-level killers every day. She stood up and walked towards the bathroom. Ren Xiaosu frowned. "What are you doing?" Taking a shower, Jo Yingsu smiled and said, "Master, do you want to join us? Get lost." "Okay." The next day, the 3 A-level killers searched the whole wall for Yang Liken like crazy, but only a few bodies of security guards were left in the residential area that Anjing Temple had given them, and Yang Liken had disappeared. They asked Anjing Temple if the intelligence was wrong, or if the mission was given to someone else and someone else took it first. As a result, Anjing Temple replied that only their team was responsible for the mission, and it was not given to anyone else. The 3 A-level killers had no choice but to use their connections in Joe's company, secretly checking witnesses and retrieving surveillance from some transportation hubs, but they found nothing. The A-level killers were about to collapse. To be honest, it was the first time they encountered such a thing. They couldn't even find the shadow of the mission target. Not only did they not find it, but even Anjing Temple couldn't find it. 3 days later, Jo Yingsu suddenly sent Anjing Temple a photo. In the photo, Yang Liken fainted. Yang Liken, who had only drunk a few sips of water in 3 days and was knocked unconscious again, had lost a lot of weight. Jo Yingsu sent a text message saying, "Yang Liken is in my hands. Please send me the mission quickly." After sending the text message, Jo Yingsu pondered, "Master, why do we look like kidnappers?" "It's not a big problem," Ren Xiaosu waved his hand, "but do you think Anjing Temple will issue a mission? After all, it's a bit too much to force a mission." Jo Yingsu looked at Ren Xiaosu in shock. "Master, you also know that this is too much, right? In fact, you have always known it, right?" At this time, Anjingzi replied with a text message, "You can kill him and claim the mission reward." Jo Yingsu smiled happily. "It's done." Chapter 528 An Accident in the Wilderness. Before completing the mission, Ren Xiaosu was actually most worried that Anjing Temple would not buy into this. After all, even a fool could figure out that it was Zhou Yingsu who deliberately kidnapped Yang Liken 3 days ago so that others could not complete the mission. This practice was a bit against the rules. But it seemed that Anjing Temple did not particularly care who completed the mission or how it was completed. The other party only wanted a result, and they just wanted Yang Liken to die. Ren Xiaosu thought about it and felt that it made sense. After all, Anjing Temple refused to let Zhou Yingsu complete the mission before, just because they were worried that it would affect the current protection mission. However, since Anjing Temple doesn't mind me taking the mission, I will have more room to maneuver in many things in the future. Ren Xiaosu asked Zhou Yingsu to kill Yang Liken and take a photo to send to Anjing Temple. Zhou Yingsu curled her lips and said, "It's disgusting to see blood. Why don't you just kill him directly, master?" Ren Xiaosu frowned and looked at Zhou Yingsu. "Have you forgotten that you are a killer?" Zhou Yingsu smiled and said, "Isn't this because you have spoiled me, master?" After Ren Xiaosu killed Yang Liken and took a photo of Zhou Yingsu, he secretly transported Yang Liken's body out of the barrier to prevent the body from appearing in the barrier and causing trouble. At this time, Zhou's family might have already started looking for this Yang Liken. If Zhou's family is prepared for the southwest, then this Yang Liken should be a very useful person. The next night, Li Ran held a small fan meeting. Ren Xiaosu and Zhou Yingsu stood under the stage of the venue, wearing headsets like the other 10 plainclothes security guards, ready to deal with crises at any time. During the fan meeting, the host even emphasized Zhou Yingsu's identity as a superhuman, causing the fans in the audience to exclaim. In this introduction, Zhou Yingsu became a fan of Li Ran, and she came to protect Li Ran out of love. It must be said that Ren Xiaosu admired these stars for their ability to hype. However, after the fan meeting, the other party still ignored Zhou Yingsu's safety suggestions. Just as the other party said, they just wanted a show. The tour team set off again. Zhou Yingsu checked the supplies in the car and found that the team did not bring any extra food and gasoline. She suggested replenishing the supplies in this regard, but Feng Zhi said that they would arrive at a new barrier every day and just refuel in the barrier. The distance between each barrier was no more than 300 kilometers, and a tank of gas was definitely enough. Zhou Yingsu frowned and said nothing. Indeed, it was no problem to run 500 kilometers with a tank of gas, but what if something unexpected happened? And Feng Zhi also patiently explained that he knew that there might be accidents in the wilderness, but there were just enough vehicles now and there was no place to store gasoline. As a result, after starting again this time, there was really an accident. No one knew who deliberately scattered nails on the road. Several cars in front of the convoy had tires burst at the same time, which made it impossible to even have spare tires. Feng Zhi thought about it for a while and decided to send someone to Barrier 78 for help, asking the rescue team in the barrier over there to come and change the tires. The price was negotiable. Li Ran said bitterly in the immobile commercial vehicle, "Why doesn't Zhou take good care of the wilderness? Someone must have deliberately scattered nails here. The wilderness is so big that it's hard to manage," Feng Zhi said with a smile, "but it doesn't matter. We are only more than 100 kilometers away from Barrier 78. The rescue team will definitely arrive soon." However, as soon as he finished speaking, Feng Zhi saw that Ren Xiaosu and Zhou Yingsu had actually started to set up tents. Li Ran was stunned for a moment. "Why are you setting up the tent?" "Oh," Ren Xiaosu said with a smile, "I think the rescue team may not be able to come today, so let's camp next to it." "Why can't they come?" Li Ran said angrily. "Number 78 is not far away. Even if the road is not good, it will take 3 or 4 hours to drive there." Ren Xiaosu smiled and said nothing, because he knew the efficiency of the barrier too well. This is not Li Ran's home court, Wang's barrier, so the rescue will definitely not be so fast. It was already evening. It took 3 or 4 hours to get here, and another 3 or 4 hours to go back, plus the time to repair the car, which would be the second half of the night. So according to the nature of the barrier rescue team, the group would definitely prefer to wake up tomorrow morning and then set off. However, Ren Xiaosu is quite familiar with this kind of nail-laying behavior. In the early years when the southwest and northwest wilderness was not dangerous, some refugees specifically dealt with caravans in this way, stabbing the caravan's car and then selling the old tires at night. This is basically a vagrant crime, and a group of people have made their fortunes by doing this. Later, because the wilderness became dangerous, The group of people disappeared. Of course, it was not to say that the people who did this dirty work today were the ones Ren Xiaosu knew. Ren Xiaosu estimated that since there were caravans traveling freely in the Central Plains, there must be many people doing this kind of thing. The people in the tour team did not believe Ren Xiaosu. They thought that as long as they reported their names, the rescue team would definitely come immediately. After all, it has always been like this in Wang's barrier. However, it was not until after 10 o'clock in the evening, 6 hours later, and there was still no sign of the rescue team. The people in the tour team sat in the car dryly. Because every stop was a barrier, they didn't even bring enough supplies for the road. After all, they could arrive at the barrier on time every day, and they had good food and drink in the barrier without having to worry about what to do on the road. At this time, Li Ren gritted his teeth and looked at Ren Xiaosu and Zhou Yingsu. He saw that the two were sitting by the campfire not far away, eating and drinking, and there were 2 tents, which they could go in and sleep at any time. Li Ren asked Feng Zhi, "Do we have a tent?" "No," Feng Zhi shook his head. "According to the plan, we have already arrived at Barrier 78 tonight. We don't need to stay in the wilderness any day on the way. How about I talk to them and ask them to vacate a tent?" "No need," Li Ren said coldly. "I can just sleep in the car. Her nanny car is quite comfortable, and even the soft seats can be laid flat to become a bed." It was late autumn, and it was still very cold at night, with the lowest temperature being 2 degrees, so every car had the heater on. After a while, Zhou Yingsu saw that those people had fallen asleep in the car, so she got up. Ren Xiaosu asked, "What for?" "Master, you will know in a moment," Zhou Yingsu said. Zhou Yingsu smiled and walked to the car and knocked on Li Ren's window. Li Ren opened his eyes sleepily. Zhou Yingsu said, "Do you feel groggy and a little nauseous?" Li Ren suddenly sobered up a little. "What did you do to me?" Zhou Yingsu smiled and said, "It's not that I did anything to you, but don't turn on the heater when the car is idling. You have carbon monoxide poisoning. Get out of the car." Chapter 529 Women's War. In fact, even Ren Xiaosu didn't know that turning on the heater when the car is idling for a long time will cause carbon monoxide poisoning in the car. If you are awake, it's okay, but if you fall asleep, you may never wake up. After hearing what Zhou Yingsu said, Li Ren immediately woke up the others. Everyone got out of the car shivering in the cold wind. People in several cars had obvious symptoms of discomfort. Carbon monoxide poisoning is very uncomfortable. Everyone wrapped up in clothes and sat in the wilderness. A gust of cold wind blew, and it seemed that their bones were chilled. Ren Xiaosu asked Zhou Yingsu curiously, "How do you know this?" "I often used this method when I created accidental deaths before, but I needed to do something else at that time," Zhou Yingsu said with a smile. "After all, I don't like to see blood." Ren Xiaosu realized at this time that the other party was not just a foodie maid, but a former intelligence officer who was good at assassination, infiltration, and intelligence. Li Ren slowly moved to the campfire and sat down, but surprisingly, the other party did not question Zhou Yingsu why she didn't remind him earlier, but whispered a thank you. Zhou Yingsu smiled and said you're welcome, and then prepared to go into the tent to sleep. Li Ren asked, "Can I sleep in the same tent with you?" Zhou Yingsu said, "This agreement is not included in the contract, and the tent is not big." As a result, Li Ren was unusually calm this time. "Then do you remember that there is a clause in the contract that you cannot sleep earlier than the employer?" Zhou Yingsu was stunned. "Is it still possible?" She thought for a while and said, "It's okay, then I won't sleep." Ren Xiaosu sighed. The war between women is really a lose-lose situation. It would be great if both of them went into the tent to sleep. The tent is definitely enough for 2 people, but these 2 people just want to sit by the campfire and waste time. He didn't care, just holding a book and reading by the campfire. He couldn't sleep yet. Since someone was scattering nails on the road, there must be a follow-up plan, whether it is selling tires or other plans. Ren Xiaosu decided to deal with this matter first. Li Ren looked at Ren Xiaosu intentionally or unintentionally. She found that the book Ren Xiaosu was reading was extremely obscure. The title of the book was The Golden Age. "Whose book is this? How come I haven't heard of it?" Li Ren asked. Ren Xiaosu glanced at her and said, "This is a book before the disaster. It's normal that you haven't heard of it." Li Ren stopped talking. She looked at Ren Xiaosu and felt a little curious. He was obviously muscular and was Zhou Yingsu's assistant. How could he find time to read a book after fighting all day? Zhou Yingxia noticed that Li Ren was secretly looking at Ren Xiaosu, so she said, "Assistant, bring me my water cup." Ren Xiaosu looked at Zhou Yingxia speechlessly, not knowing what this guy was going to do. Just at this time, the roar of an engine came from the wilderness, and it seemed that someone was shouting something happily. Ren Xiaosu said, "The person who will change your tires has arrived." The 10 plainclothes combat personnel in the tour team had already taken out their pistols, as if they were ready to shoot at any time. But to their surprise, there were 5 or 6 vehicles in the convoy rushing over, and one of the vehicles was equipped with a heavy machine gun. Someone in the car shouted, "Do you want to change the tires? 20,000 yuan each, no cheating, of course. If you don't want to change them, we'll leave now. We can also repair the tires, and the repair is 8,000 yuan each." Feng Zhi almost cursed. It usually costs more than 1,000 yuan to replace an ordinary tire, and the tires installed on the other party's car looked tattered. At first glance, it was obvious that they were old tires discarded from somewhere, and they were just barely usable. But Feng Zhi couldn't curse because he was being pointed at by a heavy machine gun. When did the Central Plains become so chaotic? People who repair tires and cars are carrying heavy machine guns. Is no one in charge? Exclamation mark. The other party didn't get close, but just shouted with a loudspeaker. In front of the distance and the heavy machine gun, the 10 plainclothes soldiers suddenly seemed a little powerless. The people in the repair team said, "Give us a straight answer whether you want to change or not, we have other places to go." It seems that they have a lot of places to sew nails. Li Ren said to Zhou Yingxia, "If you kill them, I will give you another 100,000. Zhou Yingxia blinked and said, "You said before that I just needed to be quiet and be a pretty face." Li Ren gritted his teeth and said, "There is no word pretty." Ren Xiaosu was stunned for a moment. Why was this woman's focus so weird? When Zhou Yingxia heard this, she was even less willing to pay attention to Li Ren. "I am only responsible for protecting your safety. They are not a threat to you now. If you don't change the tire, they will leave. I am not on violation of the contract. I am a bodyguard, not a thug." But just as she finished speaking, Ren Xiaosu suddenly stood up. "Wang Ergao." The man in the car was also stunned. He looked at Ren Xiaosu carefully. "Xiaosu. Ha, you really came to Central Plains?" Ren Xiaosu smiled and walked towards the repair team. The heavy machine gun was right in front of him, as if it posed no threat to Ren Xiaosu at all. All he heard was the man in the car shouting, "Put down your guns, can't you see it? It's Xiaosu." As he spoke, the other party jumped down from the car. He was wearing a dirty leather coat and walking with a limp. Ren Xiaosu asked curiously, "What's wrong with your leg?" "Hey," Wang Ergao laughed, "I hit a wall when I was working before. The other party didn't want to kill me, but just broke my leg." "That's strange. You even bought a heavy machine gun, so what kind of tough guy can you still encounter?" Ren Xiaosu asked puzzledly. "Just a woman," Wang Ergao said with emotion. "You don't know how dangerous the world is now." The woman with a black cap drove an off-road vehicle alone. "I thought the business was secure, but before I could see what was going on, the other party took care of us all. So now our cars with heavy machine guns are parked far away, and there are people watching when the car is being repaired. Someone must stay in the car ready to shoot at any time." Ren Xiaosu was stunned. "Is the woman you are talking about wearing a black combat uniform?" "Huh? You have seen her too?" Wang Ergao asked in surprise. "You also messed with that woman?" "Let me tell you, she is not to be messed with." Ren Xiaosu suddenly asked, "Did you see what ability she used?" "It should be the ability to control the sand. At that time, she directly controlled the sand and sunk our car with heavy machine guns into the ground," Wang Ergao said. This answer surprised Ren Xiaosu, because he had previously suspected that the woman was the person behind the control of the 1,000 paper cranes. Chapter 530, Life-Saving Grace. Ren Xiaosu didn't just suspect the woman in the black cap. It was just a coincidence that she showed up. He had just caught 2 paper cranes and she came to Town 61. This forced Ren Xiaosu to guess in this direction. He left Town 61 in a hurry because he felt guilty. After all, he caught the other party's paper cranes for no reason, so it was normal for others to come and question him. But at this time, Wang Ergao actually said that the other party's ability was to control sand? This made Ren Xiaosu think more. While Ren Xiaosu and Wang Ergao were chatting, everyone in the tour team looked at each other, not knowing what had happened. How did they meet acquaintances in this wilderness? Li Ran wanted to get up and approach to listen to what they were saying, but the 10 plainclothes soldiers stopped her. You can't go over. These people are obviously desperate criminals. They have killed people. Even we can't do anything to them. Aren't you elite soldiers in the army? Li Ran frowned. The plainclothes soldiers said awkwardly, but they have heavy machine guns, and we only have pistols. Zhou Yingsu laughed from behind. At the current attack distance, the heavy machine guns can turn all the vehicles into sieves in 10 seconds, but don't worry, we are here, nothing will happen. Zhou Yingsu has already seen that these hardcore repair team members have a good relationship with Ren Xiaosu, so they will definitely not fight, so they should take the opportunity to brag. At this time, Wang Ergao and Ren Xiaosu returned to the team while talking. Wang Ergao smiled to the others. Since we met Ren Xiaosu here, I will take back the price I just offered. We will repair this car for free. Li Ran asked in confusion. Ren Xiaosu is so generous. Haha, Wang Ergao laughed. When the snow closed the mountain, we were trapped in the wilderness and lost our way. It was Ren Xiaosu who took us all the way to find food and walked back to the market town. This is a life-saving grace. At that time, Wang Ergao and his men had not played so big, did not have heavy machine guns, were not skilled in committing crimes, and had no limp. But later, Ren Xiaosu rarely met Wang Ergao and his group. It seemed that this group of people went to the Yang's fortress to be bandits for a while, and then disappeared. So Ren Xiaosu didn't expect that they would come to Central Plains and do their old business. Wang Ergao asked curiously, but Xiaosu, why did you come to Central Plains and follow them? Oh, I accepted a mission to protect their tour, Ren Xiaosu explained. Wang Ergao looked at Li Ran. You are very lucky to find Ren Xiaosu. There is nothing he can't solve in this wilderness. If you go south, where will you go? All the way to Fortress 81, Ren Xiaosu recalled the route. The south is not so peaceful. When Wang's family was fighting Zhou's family, many refugees went to the mountains and received financial support from Wang's family, so there was chaos everywhere. But if you tell me my name, Wang Ergao, it usually works well, Wang Ergao said, turning around and calling out, come here. 2 people with a jack fixed the tire. In fact, repairing a tire is not a particularly difficult task, and it doesn't cost much, so Wang Ergao simply waived the fee for Ren Xiaosu's sake. The brothers in the repair team all greeted Ren Xiaosu, and it seemed that they all had a good impression of Ren Xiaosu. After all, it was Ren Xiaosu who saved them. Ren Xiaosu asked, does the unrest on the road mean that someone has gone into the mountains to become a bandit? Not really. No, Wang Ergao said with a smile. If they were bandits, the Zhou family would have come to suppress them. Someone cut down a tree and left it on the road. If you pay them, they will help you carry the tree away. Or someone lies in front of your cart to scam you. If you want to get through without paying, you have to run over them. Most of those who can drive on the road are from the walled city. They have never seen blood and dare not run over anyone. They are easy to scare. While Wang Ergao's brother was repairing his car, Wang Ergao kept asking Ren Xiaosu about the southwest. The plainclothes soldiers next to him wanted to take Wang Ergao down and show off in front of Li Ran, but they found that the heavy machine gun in the distance was always pointing at them. The heavy machine gun didn't care about others and just stared at the plainclothes. It seemed that the other side had recognized their military identity and knew that they were the biggest threat. At this time, Wang Ergao sighed and said, I didn't expect the changes in the southwest to be so great. The Li and Yang companies are gone. How come this consortium is not as successful as Wang Ergao? Zhou Yingsu laughed. Wang Ergao looked at Zhou Yingsu and said, you are Xiaosu's woman, right? Don't talk nonsense. Ren Xiaosu stopped Wang Ergao. What the hell is this random matchmaking? Zhou Yingsu said calmly, he is my assistant. Wang Ergao smiled and said, of course not. I have a sharp eye. There is something wrong between you two. Who knows who listens to whom in private? Zhou Yingsu rolled her eyes and asked in a low voice, then what do you think of your Xiaosu's relationship with that female star? Don't worry, my brother doesn't like that, Wang Ergao said with a smile. Zhou Yingsu smiled at once. A brother nearby shouted, Ergao, the car is fixed. Wang Ergao patted Ren Xiaosu's shoulder carelessly and said, we'll leave then. Take care of yourself. Next time we see each other, I'll have a couple of drinks with you. Ren Xiaosu smiled and nodded. He didn't say that he never drank, so there was no need to rush to refuse the kindness of an old friend. The repairman left, and the plainclothes soldier said to Li Ran, "Should we ask General Wang for instructions to encircle and suppress them?" Li Ran glanced at them. There were only 16 or 17 of them just now. "You are 10 regular soldiers. Why didn't you mention the encirclement and suppression? And this is Zhou's territory, how can we encircle and suppress them? Just find someone to do it secretly. It's easy to deal with such a shady person if you really want to deal with him," the plainclothes soldier said after the fact, "and we need to be more vigilant about Ren Xiaosu. After all, those who can call themselves brothers and sisters with such a shady person must have problems." As a result, Li Ran didn't say what he said, but casually said, "It's fine as long as it can solve the problem." To be honest, Li Ran was still a little scared when he saw the opponent's heavy machine gun just now. After all, the opponent had heavy firepower and was a person who lived on the edge of a knife in the wilderness. It would be abnormal if he didn't feel scared. But for some reason, from the moment Ren Xiaosu stood up, her fear had subsided. After getting in the car, Li Ran said to Fang Zhi, "Pay Ren Xiaosu 200,000 yuan to thank him for helping me out." Fang Zhi was stunned. "Even if we pay the same price as before to repair the car, it shouldn't cost that much?" Li Ran glanced at him and said, "I'm happy to do that." Chapter 531 The Disappearing Experimental Subject. As the tour team was heading south, in the east of the Qing's barrier, that is, in the mountains that separated the Qing family from the Central Plains, a group of Special Operations Forces were constantly infiltrating the southern mountains. This mountain range is majestic and steep, stretching for hundreds of kilometers. If there is a road that can cross the mountains, I am afraid that the Qing family will be able to reach the Zhou family within 2 days. Unfortunately, the power of nature does not seem to be something that humans can conquer at this stage, and Qing Zhen seems to be happy to have this barrier. He would even rather go far away and connect to the railway from Fort 178 and the northern river valley area, rather than break this barrier. Qing Zhen told Luolan that this is the real wall of the Qing's barrier. At this moment, a clear voice came from the communication channel. A2 feedback. A2 found no abnormalities and no traces of the experimental subject. A3 feedback. When the sound spreads in the communication channel, there will be a kind of electromagnetic texture. These Special Operations Forces are no longer divided into teams of 30 people, but 12 people per team. At this time, in the mountains, a whole reconnaissance battalion was advancing continuously, and the firepower unit followed behind. However, due to the rugged mountain road, the combat unit's advancement speed seemed a little slower. The special forces can speed up, but the mechanized firepower unit behind them can't keep up. The frontline commander Qing Yi was standing in the command center in the rear. In front of them were multiple screens, which kept switching the images transmitted back in real time by the cameras on the helmets of the Special Operations Forces. Qing Yi said calmly, "Enter the range of Hefton Mountain immediately. It is expected that a large number of experimental subjects will be encountered. Don't fight to the death. If you find that you are defeated, assemble immediately, build a firepower blockade line and wait for the support of the rear troops." "Received," the battalion commander of the reconnaissance battalion replied, and then his face became more severe. The reconnaissance battalion has always been the combat sequence with the strongest individual combat capability among the various consortium troops. The residents of the fortress like to call them special forces. Normally, these people are always the best in the army in cross-country training, but this time they have been infiltrating the mountains for half a month, and they are a little tired, and the black and green camouflage on their faces is a little faded. "Check weapons and firearms, check laser guidance equipment, check." The commander of the reconnaissance battalion issued multiple orders in an instant, and the soldiers of the Special Operations Force were all on high alert. They knew very well that the meaning behind this order was, they were about to encounter the enemy. A combat team of 12 people began to enter the Hefton Mountain area. Suddenly, the sound of creatures moving quickly sounded in the woods and grass in front of a combat team. In an instant, 9 of the 12 people pointed their guns in the direction, and 2 others covered the flanks to prevent the flanks from being attacked by the enemy, and 1 was holding a grenade launcher ready to provide heavy firepower support at any time. The sound of running was getting closer and closer. The team leader whispered in the communication channel, "Unknown creatures are approaching A9. Repeat, unknown creatures are approaching A9. As soon as the voice fell, a wild boar suddenly rushed out of the bushes. The deputy team leader next to the team leader instantly drew out the dagger from his waist and rushed over. But what was even more strange was that the thin blood vessels on his face and hands lit up with silver light. When the huge wild boar rushed over, the deputy team leader actually held the fangs on the wild boar's mouth with one hand and stabbed it hard into the ground. Then the dagger in the other hand had already stabbed into the wild boar's neck. Danger is over. A9 is out of danger. It's a wild boar. A9 will continue to move forward, the team leader said, and took the lead to continue moving forward. Qing Yi saw the scene clearly in the command center. He calmly said to a middle-aged man with the glasses beside him, "Calculate the speed and strength of the soldiers just now." Understood. There were many young people around the middle-aged man. Now, Qing Zhen has gathered all the Nanorbit researchers who had previously served the Li and Yang companies under his command. Qing Yi smiled and said, "This thing can only play its role if it is in my hands, isn't it?" The middle-aged man nodded quickly. "Yes. Continue to calculate. I want to know how many nanorbits are suitable to be injected into each soldier's body. Do you understand what I mean? This is the most scientific data," Qing Yi told his adjutant. "The research must be fast. Boss Luo is buying time for us. We can't always let him stay in such a dangerous place as the Central Plains." However, Qing Yi suddenly felt that something was wrong. Where a large number of experimental subjects are gathered, how can there be living things? How can there be wild boars? Notify them to quickly concentrate their forces and rush forward to check the scope of Hefen Mountain. The results were quickly fed back. No traces of experimental subjects were found in Hefen Mountain, but traces of a bonfire were found in the mountain. It seemed that a large number of paper documents were burned in the bonfire. The entire Hefen Mountain was empty. The documents in the bonfire must have been burned by the experimental subjects. Qing Yi frowned. He knew that there was intelligent life in the experimental subjects before, but now the other party would even read the documents and destroy them, which surprised him. "Bring back the complete ash fragments and try to repair them to see if we can find anything," Qing Yi said. "Retreat." There were not many ash fragments left, and the largest fragment was probably only the size of a fingernail, and they were all burned black. In fact, Qing Yi did not hold out much hope for this. Qing Yi looked at the majestic Hefen Mountain on the screen and sighed. What kind of monster did the Spark Company create in its experiments before the disaster? The adjutant next to him asked, "Where do you think the experimental subject will go? Should other barriers be notified to be alert?" Qing Yi looked at the map carefully. "Put my brother on the phone for me." The communicator handed over the walkie-talkie, and Qing Zhen's calm voice came from it. "What's wrong?" "The experimental subjects are missing, and I suspect they went to Central Plains. Tell Zhou to let them be careful and vigilant," Qing Zhen said. "Why should we remind the Zhou family?" Qing Yi was puzzled. Wouldn't it be better if they suffered some losses? "The unlucky ones are the people in the fortress," Qing Zhen said, "and now we are joining forces to guard against the Wang family. You must understand the principle of the loss of lips and teeth." "I don't need to understand these," Qing Yi smiled. "I just know how to fight a war." "You should think about other things, brother. Don't hide your shortcomings." "I'm not a jealous person," Qing Zhen chuckled. "Come back and rest. You've been busy for half a year." "Okay," Qing Yi agreed. "Brother, you send someone you trust to take over the military power, and I will transfer all the troops to him." "No need to transfer," Qing Zhen said. "The one I trust the most is you, but there is no promotion for you. I heard that you like female stars in Central Plains. I will ask Luo Lan to bring one back to you." "Thank you, brother, for trusting me." After Qing Yi hung up the phone, he didn't speak for a long time. The adjutant who had been listening to the phone next to him muttered that the tone of Chief Qing Zhen when he asked Boss Luo to bring a star sounded like he was bringing a local specialty. Chapter 532, Change is Coming. On the night when Qing completely lost the trace of the experimental subject, no one noticed that in the corner of barrier number 61, where the A-level killer and the Spark Company had fought, there was a creeper growing along the wall. The creeper had been planted for a long time, and the walls of the houses on the roadside had been covered by the creeper. In the summer, when someone passed by here, looking at the green wall would have a refreshing feeling. On the day of the battle, a member of the Twilight Squad of the Spark Company died under that wall, and the blood penetrated into the soil along the corpse and mixed with the roots of the creeper. At night, a fat rat came out of the sewer, carefully looking for food. It was attracted to the creeper by the blood that had not been cleaned up before. But the creeper seemed to have life, and stretched out a small tentacle to try to touch the rat. The rat stepped back in fear, and then carefully looked at the tentacles of the creeper, which were like the palm of a human. But when the mouse found out that the other party was just a plant, it was no longer so vigilant, but approached again. The soft tentacles of the creeper touched the top of its head twice, as if it was very curious. This was probably the first time that it seriously understood the world in its own way. The tentacles scratched the top of the mouse's head, just like tickling, and the mouse squinted its eyes very much. But in the next moment, the tentacles of the creeper opened up, like spikes inserted into the mouse's body, and in just a moment, it penetrated the mouse and dragged it behind its dense leaves. The mouse only had time to make a squeak, and then there was no sound, and the creeper attached to the wall, still looking quiet and beautiful. When the tour team arrived at Barrier 78, it was already early morning. After they fixed the tire, they immediately set off. Just as Ren Xiaosu guessed, the tour team had already arrived at Barrier 78, but the rescue team had no intention of setting off yet. This time, Feng Zhi finally listened to Zhou Yingsu's advice and temporarily purchased 2 off-road vehicles to store supplies and vehicle maintenance tools. He even hired a local vehicle maintenance worker with a high salary to follow the tour. What happened last night really scared them. What if they encountered more vicious robbers instead of a hardcore repair team? Feng Zhi knew very well that if they were trapped in the wilderness without rules, most men would probably be very interested in Li Ran, a female star. This time in the barrier, Li Ran took Zhou Yingsu with him everywhere. The two women seemed to love each other like sisters. If Ren Xiaosu hadn't known the truth, he would have almost believed it. Li Ran took Zhou Yingsu to participate in various activities and dinners, simply because he didn't want Zhou Yingsu to be idle. By the way, since Zhou Yingsu was participating in the activities, Ren Xiaosu, as an assistant on the surface, of course had to follow. Even so, Li Ran proudly told Zhou Yingsu, "I came to Zhou's tour this time mainly to meet a film director at Fortress number 73. He seems to be shooting a new movie recently. If I can be selected as the heroine, I will help you find the director to ask for a supporting actress." Zhou Yingsu rolled her eyes at this. She knew very well that Li Ran just wanted to show off to her, otherwise he would not have mentioned such things. Ren Xiaosu was curious and asked, "Is there anyone making movies now?" "Of course, and they are in color," Li Ran said proudly. Ren Xiaosu had not lived in the Central Plains Fortress for a long time, so he didn't know that many fortresses would have open-air movies, with special projectionists removing a screen and then projecting the picture on it. Every time a movie was shown, a large group of men, women, young and old would gather under the screen, as well as vendors selling cigarettes, soda, and melon seeds. These are not found in the southwest and northwest, but only in the Central Plains. But at the dinner, Zhou Yingsu received a text message from Anjing Temple again, but this time the mission was a little different. A large number of members of the Spark Company have infiltrated Barrier number 73, accompanied by members of the Knights organization. Their goal is suspected to be to find the remains of the Spark Company's laboratory before the disaster, which is located near East Lake. This laboratory is extremely valuable and should be a research topic in the field of life sciences. It has achieved technological breakthroughs before the disaster and can be applied to a wide range of medical fields. This mission is an open-ended mission. The bounty for the heads of the Spark Company's early morning team is 150,000 per person, and the bounty for the heads of the dusk team is 500,000 per person. Only those who succeed in hunting this time will be eligible to participate in the selection next spring. On the grass outside the banquet, Ren Xiaosu and Zhou Yingsu were stunned when they saw the mission text message. He wondered, has Anjing Temple issued such a fierce mission before? It seems that all A-levels are required to hunt down members of the Spark Company. Ren Xiaosu took out his newly stolen C-level mobile phone, and he found that this C-level mobile phone had also received the text message. So, this mission was sent indiscriminately by Anjing Temple. Everyone down to C-level is involved. The most ruthless thing about this mission is that it was sent to a group, Zhou Yingsu said. Anjing Temple must be well aware that many of the mobile phones they send out are hidden in the hands of people with ulterior motives. Master, I'm not insinuating anything. Ren Xiaosu raised his eyebrows. Go on. Each force should have 1 or 2 Anjing Temple mobile phones. Although they can't receive text messages from A-level missions, they can occasionally prevent important backbones in the consortium from being assassinated, Zhou Yingsu said. Someone from Joe's company was given a B-level mission before, and the charges were listed. As a result, before the assassin arrived, the person was arrested and investigated by Joe's company itself. Therefore, this group text message was sent to those forces, hoping that more people would come to stop the Spark company. Well, Ren Xiaosu nodded. If it was just to hunt down members of the Spark company, it probably wouldn't make people excited, but the extremely valuable information in the laboratory would make people excited. I'm afraid Joe himself would be tempted. After all, this laboratory is on their territory. This text message emphasizes the value of the laboratory, but it shows that they are not interested in the laboratory information. It's really interesting. Therefore, Jinxie clearly knew that their mobile phones were taken by people other than the killers, but they didn't care. They just replaced the phones for the A-level killers. This is actually deliberately condoning the leakage of mobile phones, and then using it to disrupt the situation at a critical moment. It's just that the Spark company is looking for the laboratory ruins. Why is there a night organization accompanying it? How did these two organizations get mixed up? Ren Xiaosu asked in confusion. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 533, Fire and Night. In his impression, the knights were quite good. The knight he met before was also very polite and fair. Especially the matter of prohibiting students from gambling, Ren Xiaosu completely agreed with it. He knew the nature of gamblers very well. But why would a night organization with a good reputation help the Spark company find things? Unless they have a common goal. You said before that King Group has been looking for the heir of the major shareholder? It has been many years and no one has been found. Ren Xiaosu asked, puzzled. Yes, this matter has been spread a long time ago. It's not a secret, Zhou Yingsu said, but it seems that because of the disaster, a lot of information has been lost. After all, King Group seemed to have a hard time in the first few years of the disaster, and the founder also died in the disaster to save the entire group. Ren Xiaosu muttered, then the founder's heir can't be in the laboratory of Spark Company, right? Zhou Yingsu said in confusion, Master, let's not talk about anything else, just talk about this mission. Only by killing the people of Spark Company this time can you be eligible to participate in next year's selection, but Li Ren asks me to be inseparable from her every day. How can I go to barrier number 73? Ren Xiaosu thought about it and it was really the case. Although he didn't need to apply for the mission this time, Zhou Yingsu couldn't leave, and Zhou Yingsu's mobile phone needed to be unlocked with fingerprints to take pictures to complete the task. In other words, Zhou Yingsu had to be present in person. Ren Xiaosu pondered for a while. It's okay, I'll go and bring the person back for you to kill. Zhou Yingsu was shocked at the time. Master, can't you always be so hardcore? Barrier number 73 is more than 400 kilometers away from here. You just carry the person back so that I can complete the task. What else? Ren Xiaosu glanced at her. Do you have any better ideas? Don't worry, I will think about whether there are other ways on the way. Then Master, you should be careful, Zhou Yingsu said. This time, I'm afraid that all the monsters and demons in the underground world of the Central Plains will want to squeeze their heads into barrier number 73. It's a mixed bag. Well, Ren Xiaosu nodded, I will make them more careful. Zhou Yingsu. After speaking, Ren Xiaosu didn't hesitate and walked directly into the night. Li Ren in the room came out in an evening gown, holding a champagne glass in his hand. In the exquisite crystal glass, champagne was bubbling with crystal bubbles. Li Ren asked beside Zhou Yingsu, where's he going? Oh, Zhou Yingsu said with a smile, I'll ask my assistant to go back to the hotel in advance to make my bed. Humph. Li Ren turned and left. Just as Zhou Yingsu guessed, this time Jinxie's intervention has made the entire underground world in the Central Plains restless. In just half a day after the group text message was sent, half of the black market outside Luocheng was empty. Those bigwigs who lived in seclusion in the black market moved and left the black market, a den of money. After all, only by making more money can you enjoy a better life. The legend that obtaining laboratory data can make you rich overnight is circulating in the entire Barrier Alliance. Even if you only grab one page of data, it may be enough to spend for a lifetime. The life science research results of the Spark Company before the disaster, And the most important thing is that Jingxi said that this research has made a breakthrough. The subtext is that it can be applied. Joe simply started to set up checkpoints outside barrier number 73, and even planned to station 2 brigades outside barrier number 73. They took this matter very seriously. But it takes time to mobilize troops. It takes at least 3 days for 2 brigades to move from other barriers. This march is not just a matter of troops marching directly, but also requires supporting logistics. However, what surprised all parties was that the troops of these 2 brigades turned around and stationed at the westernmost barrier of Zhou before they arrived at barrier number 73. This made everyone very confused. Did Zhou intend to leave barrier number 73 alone? But there was nothing at barrier number 74, the westernmost barrier. There were mountains more than 100 kilometers to the west. Why did Zhou station troops there? Is there anything more important than barrier number 73? Of course, they didn't know that Qing had already passed a more important message to Zhou. So, after the 2 brigades went to the west, Zhou mobilized other troops to rush to barrier number 73. However, for the big bosses in the underground world, this is not important. Everyone is only concerned about where the pre-disaster laboratory of the Spark Company is. During the few days when Zhou mobilized troops, while barrier number 73 was not under martial law, various monsters and demons had entered the barrier with their own magical powers. They did not dare to stay in the hotel, so they could only live in the houses secretly and observe the movements quietly. Some people were even so miserable that they could only stay in the bath center every day and avoid the patrol troops inside barrier number 73. After all, not everyone had a safe house in barrier number 73. Ren Xiaosu was already eating hot dry noodles in the safe house. He bought the hot dry noodles from outside. The safe house was the first safe house that Wu Tong arranged for them to meet when they were on a mission together last time. This safe house used to belong to Wu Tong, but now it belongs to Ren Xiaosu. After all, Wu Tong is gone, and things without an owner should be occupied by those with virtue. It was not that difficult for Ren Xiaosu to enter the barrier, but he had observed from outside. At one point, Ren Xiaosu even felt that Zhou had relaxed the inspection of entering the barrier, as if deliberately letting in these mixed characters. Why? Did they want to use the power of these people to check and balance the Spark Company? In Ren Xiaosu's opinion, wouldn't it be safer to just station troops there? What was Zhou planning? Barrier number 73 had a temporary curfew, which was rare in the Central Plains. Some barriers were even known as cities that never sleep, and the prosperous scene lasted all night. Ren Xiaosu went out after eating the hot dry noodles. And Jingxi later added mission information, indicating that the Spark Company had arrived near the east lake of barrier number 73. Although they had lost their traces, the laboratory was likely next to the east lake, and the Spark Company should not have found the entrance to the laboratory yet. Ren Xiaosu moved freely on the roof, and occasionally saw other people watching something on the roof. On the street not far away, Vanilla was leading an old man who was playing with sugar painting in the shadows. His well-dressed suit didn't match the old man next to him at all. The old man muttered, "There are too many strong men this time. You'd better tell me what you are planning at Anjing Temple in advance. I don't want to take too much risk." Vanilla adjusted his tie and smiled, "If you and I join forces, plus the support of my people from Anjing Temple, who in this barrier can be our opponent?" Chapter 534 A Stormy Night. 73 Barrier. The big bosses hid in the barrier, waiting for the opportunity to come. The scope of East Lake is very large. It is impossible to find the laboratory near East Lake just based on Anjing Temple's statement. So what everyone is waiting for is that the fire company will find the entrance to the laboratory and then take it away. Although the big bosses cannot be the opponent of the fire company alone, they all know that there will be many people who will take action at that time, and there will be A-level killers from Anjing Temple involved. If they get into chaos, they can sell some of the information at a sky-high price. However, the big bosses are still hiding in the bathing center at this time. It's not that they like to take a bath and rub their backs, but mainly because most of them have registered with various consortiums. If they go out and are recognized, Zhou may directly arrest them. Not only them, but even Vanilla and the old man playing with sugar paintings are hiding their tracks, and the people from the fire company and the night organization are also hiding their tracks. Only Ren Xiaosu swaggers around the East Lake at night, like nothing happened. Fort 178, which had his video footage, had destroyed all of it, and the Qing family was also keeping it a secret. Regardless of whether the people from the Central Plains had heard of his deeds, they would not recognize him if they met. Ren Xiaosu was like an ordinary student in Fort 73, wearing a blue sportswear that looked like a school uniform. To be honest, even the intelligence officers from various forces did not think much of Ren Xiaosu's night jogging by the East Lake, because everyone felt that no one would dare to walk around so casually at this time. In addition, Ren Xiaosu looked too young, only in his teens, and he did not look like a ruthless person. Therefore, Ren Xiaosu was ignored by various forces in Fort 73, like an invisible person. When Ren Xiaosu was running at night, a cleaner next to him said to the headset, "No suspicion, it should be just a young man in the fort, and there is no sign of hidden weapons on his body." It is easy for experts to see whether there are hidden weapons on the body, especially when running. If there are daggers and guns, they will definitely not be hidden from others. Right beside the East Lake, there are countless intelligence agents scattered around, all with eyes fixed on this place. Someone in the headset laughed and said, "I really want to remind them not to run near the lake these days. It's too dangerous. But think about it, we are not good people, so there is no need to expose ourselves for these fortress residents." The cleaner looked at Ren Xiaosu's back as he ran away and smiled. "Why do you care about their lives?" The voice in the headset laughed. "It is said that a director will bring a crew to East Lake to shoot a movie in the next 2 days. I have never seen a crew before." The cleaner laughed. "What's the crew? What we do is more exciting than the movie." The cleaner did not persuade Ren Xiaosu to leave. Instead, a young man stopped Ren Xiaosu. The other party looked about 26 or 27 years old. He said to Ren Xiaosu, "Please don't run near East Lake recently. It's very dangerous." Ren Xiaosu panicked and said, "What's wrong? Is something going to happen?" The young man thought for a while and said, "It's not safe here anymore. There will be a lot of monsters gathering here." "Oh, okay, I'll go back now. Are you from the order department?" Ren Xiaosu asked curiously. "I'm not." The young man shook his head. After persuading Ren Xiaosu, the young man went to persuade the old ladies who were dancing in the square on the shore of East Lake. As soon as he opened his mouth, the old ladies began to push the young man. "Why do you say that you can't dance? Yes, is this your territory? You still say that it's unsafe here. Who are you trying to scare? I tell you, young man, if you say that, I will lie down." Ren Xiaosu watched this scene happily, but in the process of pushing and shoving, he suddenly saw a triangular red cloth taken out of the other party's trouser pocket. Ren Xiaosu was stunned for a moment. He recalled the scene he saw in the black market. The members of the night organization covered their faces with red cloth when they were on a mission. Could this be the night's people? Now, because of the possible danger here, the other party is tirelessly persuading the residents of the East Lake to leave the vicinity. Why would such an organization get involved with a fire company? What are they looking for? The stage of the number 73 barrier has already appeared, and Ren Xiaosu believes that the good show will be on soon. However, just when Ren Xiaosu returned to the safe house, he suddenly saw several text messages on his new C-class mobile phone. Last night, the library of Barrier 73 was stolen. According to a day's investigation, the local chronicles of the room before the disaster and the map of the location of Barrier 73 before the disaster were lost. Last night, the confidential files of Barrier 73 were stolen. The lost data were the changes in the topography and infrastructure caused by the crustal movement of Barrier 73 in the past 70 years. According to inference, this should be the work of the Spark Company. Perhaps because of the changes in the landform, the other party has not found the entrance to the laboratory. East Lake is too big. If an ordinary person runs at night, it may take several days to complete the East Lake loop. Moreover, the landform has changed a lot over the years, so that even the Spark Company has to steal confidential files to slowly determine where the laboratory is. Looking at the phone, Ren Xiaosu suddenly realized that Enjing Temple must have attached great importance to the plan of the Spark Company this time, and simply stepped down and began to lead the pace frequently, with the purpose of sharing all the information they knew with everyone. Enjing Temple's goal was not the laboratory data, but just to target Huazihong Company. Huazihong Company must have mobile phones in their hands. I wonder if they will feel annoyed when their every move is exposed to everyone's eyes. Ren Xiaosu had nothing to do, so he went to the largest bath center nearby to take a bath. He swore that he just wanted to see what the big guys in the underground world looked like, not for anything else. After taking the hand card, Ren Xiaosu entered the men's department and saw a circle of tattooed big guys sitting in the bath, seemingly talking about something. Ren Xiaosu looked at these people's tattoos with interest. Some had tiger tattoos, some had dragon tattoos, and there were all kinds of fancy ones. There were ordinary customers in this bath center, but there were only a group of burly men with tattoos sitting in the bath, and no one else dared to get close. But Ren Xiaosu sat in the bath as if he was familiar with it, which made those big guys stunned. But Ren Xiaosu pointed at two carp tattoos on a big man's arms and asked, "What does this tattoo mean? Does it bring good luck?" "No," the big man looked at Ren Xiaosu calmly. "I was born on a stormy night on March 11th 30 years ago." Just as Ren Xiaosu was waiting to hear a bloody story, the big man suddenly said, "So, my birthday is March 11th, and I'm a Pisces." Chapter 535 Black Market Doctor. After the big boss finished speaking, Ren Xiaosu was immediately amused. Pisces, so that's how these people got their tattoos. He looked at another big boss with a tiger tattoo. "So you are a tiger? The other big brother is a dragon, right?" The big bosses looked at Ren Xiaosu calmly, and gradually thought something was wrong. "Who the hell are you?" Seeing that Ren Xiaosu didn't have a single tattoo on his body, he was obviously an ordinary person. Seeing that other ordinary people had run to the shower area, "How dare this kid sit in the bathtub?" Exclamation mark. But before they could continue to question, there was suddenly a mess outside. Everyone looked back and saw someone helping a big man with injuries come in. A big boss frowned and asked, "What's going on?" "We met our rivals. We won a lot of money from them in the black market before. They didn't dare to take action in the black market. They just happened to run into them and were attacked and chopped twice," said the man who was helping the big man. "Let me see." The big guy stood up and lifted the clothes of the injured man, only to see two very deep knife wounds on the chest and back, and the skin was rolled up due to the cuts. One person sighed, "Brother, you can't go to the hospital at Fortress number 73. This injury may not be cured. Don't worry, we will take good care of your wife and children." The big man turned pale. "I think I can rescue. If you go to the hospital, won't we be exposed?" One person said, "Then the Joe family will arrest us all. Have you forgotten that we kidnapped Joe's children 2 years ago? If we are caught, we will die. Don't worry, we are loyal and brave, and will never let your wife and children starve to death." The injured big man rolled his eyes and was about to faint. Then a voice said next to them, "I can save him." Everyone turned around and looked. In the mist, the big men saw Ren Xiaosu coming over and putting on a bathrobe. "I can sew his wound, and I have a secret recipe of medicine passed down from my ancestors. I guarantee that he will recover in 3 days. But, isn't 500,000 yuan for a life too much?" "Not too much, not too much." The injured big man woke up again. "I have money." Ren Xiaosu heard this and pretended to go to his locker to get black medicine and needle and thread. The big men were stunned when they saw the needle and thread in Ren Xiaosu's hand. "Is this for sewing clothes? Why do you care so much at this time?" Ren Xiaosu raised his eyebrows. "It's good enough to save a life." As he said that, he began to thread the needle on the other party's wound without anesthesia, and the big man almost went into shock from the pain. The big men looked at each other. They definitely couldn't go to the hospital in Joe's fortress, but there would be more and more injured people in the next few days, and even a small injury could be fatal. It would be a good thing to have such a black doctor, but the big bosses decided to wait and see if the other party could really heal the wound. Seeing Ren Xiaosu sew up the skin on the bloody wound without changing his expression, the big bosses felt that at least he had the courage. After the sew-up, Ren Xiaosu took out a black medicine from the pocket of his bathrobe and smeared it on the wound of the injured man. The face of the injured man turned red quickly, and the cold sweat stopped coming out. "How is it? Do you feel better?" asked a big boss next to him. "It doesn't hurt anymore." "It really doesn't hurt anymore." The injured man was surprised. He turned to Ren Xiaosu and said, "Thank you, little brother. Thanks from Zhang Hongning, +1. Suddenly, all the big bosses looked at Ren Xiaosu, and someone smiled kindly. "What's your name, little brother?" "You can just call me Dr. Ren," Ren Xiaosu said with a harmless smile. "Look, come to the bath center often during this period. We will cover all your expenses. If anyone is injured, you will treat him and pay for the treatment." As he said that, the injured man asked his younger brother to bring a chip. This is a chip from the black market casino outside Los Angeles. People like us usually don't deposit money in the consortium bank, and it's inconvenient to carry cash. You can easily exchange this chip for money in the black market casino in Los Angeles. Ren Xiaosu took a look and saw that the chip was engraved with a golden 50, which seemed to mean 500,000. The largest chip in a general casino is 10,000. I didn't expect that the black market in Los Angeles would be so generous that it specially made 500,000 chips to facilitate these bigwigs to carry and trade. This is no different from a bank that issues currency. The chips are their currency. Ren Xiaosu took the chip and looked at it. He saw that if he turned it slightly, he could see strange patterns rolling inside. A big shot next to him explained, "This is a Thai counterfeiting laser engraving technology. The patterns are encrypted, and an instrument is needed to identify the encrypted content." Ren Xiaosu smiled and said, "Okay, I'll take it. This way, I won't come here often. But if someone is injured and needs treatment, you can put a red stand at the door and I will come as soon as I see it. Don't worry, it won't delay anything." Ren Xiaosu wondered how he became a black market doctor. After this incident, Ren Xiaosu became the most popular person in the bath center. Since someone was injured, this bath center has not been open to the public. They said it was closed for renovation and no longer accepted individual customers. On the third day, Ren Xiaosu saw a red cone at the door and walked into the bath center. This time, no one was injured, but the injured big man looked at Ren Xiaosu with embarrassment. "Dr. Ren, can you remove the stitches and sew it for me again?" Ren Xiaosu was stunned. "Why do you have such a request?" But the big man Zhang Hongning took off his clothes and showed his chest. "Look, there was originally a dragon on my chest, but you sewed it crookedly." Ren Xiaosu silently looked at the big green dragon on the other's chest. It was true that the head and neck didn't match. Zhang Hongning said anxiously, "This tattoo is our face, and a headless dragon doesn't look auspicious. Dr. Ren, do you have after-sales service or something? You see, I said that your industry is the least suitable for tattoos. Fighting and killing every day, it's hard to sew a wound." Ren Xiaosu said unhappily, "We are a black doctor, and refusing after-sales service is our service tenet." Zhang Hongning was stunned by these words, but he couldn't do anything to his lifesaver. He thought that when he took a bath with other people in the future, their tattoos were lifelike, but the dragon head on his chest was crooked. At this moment, another injured man was helped in from outside. The injured man saw that Ren Xiaosu was there and was immediately overjoyed. "Dr. Ren, treat my injury quickly." Ren Xiaosu thought for a while and said, "You said 500,000 before, right?" Although the injured man was in unbearable pain, he nodded quickly. "Yes, I have money." "Well, let's add a new service now. When I sew it, I will make your tattoo intact, and you can add 50,000. Ren Xiaosu thought of a new business opportunity. The man took a look at the crooked dragon head on Zhang Hongning's chest and nodded quickly. 50,000 is 50,000. Zhang Hongning looked at Ren Xiaosu suspiciously. Why did he feel that Ren Xiaosu had deliberately sewed his dragon head crooked before? This black doctor is really black, and he wants to make money from everything. Chapter 536 Sanjing Temple declares war. 73 Rampart. Apart from a few big men in the underground world hacking, nothing else seemed to happen. And Jinxie still sent text messages to disrupt the situation every day, but the Spark Company still hadn't found the entrance to the laboratory. If the entrance wasn't found, no one would attack the Spark Company in advance. After all, everyone wanted to get the information of that laboratory. Now, it is estimated that anyone who wants to kill members of the Spark Company will be stopped. Some people even speculated that Zhou turned a blind eye to the current situation, and they were probably waiting. Zhou's troops had already begun to station outside the rampart, but the monsters in the rampart didn't panic and were still dormant. At this moment, it was like the calm before the storm, and the storm was about to come. Ren Xiaosu also went to the bath center every day with peace of mind, and then went to the East Lake for a night run. The aunties in the square were still dancing in the square, but the night had disappeared. This incident became news in the rampart. Shocking, the young man stopped the aunties from dancing in the square, but was hit by a car accident. When Ren Xiaosu was treating the wounds of the big bosses, he asked curiously, "Why don't you stay in the bath center? If you keep fighting like this, I'm afraid you will all be useless before the Spark Company finds the entrance to the laboratory." At this time, the big bosses also knew that Ren Xiaosu was not an ordinary person. After all, there has never been such a magical medicine in the world that can heal such a deep wound in 3 days. But the big boss laughed and said, We have you to treat the wounds, and they can be healed in 3 days, but they don't. If they continue to fight like this, they will definitely be killed first. Ren Xiaosu thought about it, and it seemed that there were many wounded people on the other side. That? I want to ask a question, which bath center are they in? After all, there's money to be made. A big boss looked at Ren Xiaosu speechlessly for a long time. We will pay you an extra 1 million, don't go to treat their wounds, you don't know, we have been enemies with those bastards for a long time. To be honest, when we met them at Barrier 73 this time, we didn't even think about the information in the laboratory, we just wanted to completely destroy them. Okay, Ren Xiaosu smacked his lips. To be honest, Ren Xiaosu didn't really regard these big bosses as imaginary enemies this time. After all, those who had broken through the barriers and fought against a combat brigade really looked down on these so-called big bosses in the underground world. These people are really not good enough to fight, and they are not up to the standard. After all, the core of this world is still those financial groups and those powerful organizational forces with extraordinary people as the core. Ren Xiaosu thought about it inside. I still think you should be more rational, wait for the news from Anjing Temple, and then go to seize the laboratory data. After all, for Ren Xiaosu, he would rather see the situation in complete chaos, rather than two criminal organizations in the underground world hacking each other, and because of the fear of Zhou's arrest, they dare not even fire guns, and dare not go to the hospital. How boring. But one of the bigwigs said, Dr. Ren, you don't understand the situation. We were also the local power of the Zhou family. We were forced to go to the black market in Lucheng because of the other party's dirty tricks. Otherwise, who would want to leave their hometown? So when we came back this time, we were particularly jealous of each other. You're a doctor, so you don't understand how cruel the fighting and killing in the world is. You must take revenge. If you don't, outsiders will look down on you. Ren Xiaosu thought about it carefully. He thought about it and felt that there was only one patient every 3 or 5 days, and the money was too slow. He turned his head and grinned at the bigwigs and said, how about this? I will help you wipe out this local power. How much is this worth? The bigwigs suddenly looked at each other. The boy in front of them smiled innocently, but what he said was extremely creepy. But isn't the other party a doctor? Someone laughed. Dr. Ren, don't joke around. They have guns in their hands. We don't use our guns just to worry about being hunted down by the Zhou family. But if it really comes to a matter of life and death, we will do whatever it takes. That's not something you, a doctor, can handle. Don't underestimate us. Ren Xiaosu raised his eyebrows and said nothing. Originally, Ren Xiaosu thought that such a peaceful day would last for a while, but Anjing Temple sent another extremely important message. The safe house of the Spark Company has been found. It is located in the Swanpond Villa district. There are 40 people. The number of people in the night organization is unknown. The location of the laboratory is suspected to be in the original East Lake Tunnel. The Spark Company is trying to find the entrance to the laboratory in the East Lake Tunnel. This was the original text of the text message. There was a sound of rubbing hands in the bath center. These bigwigs were originally locals. Ren Xiaosu asked in confusion, East Lake Tunnel? Why haven't I heard of any East Lake Tunnel? You don't know this, one person laughed and said, the East Lake Tunnel was an infrastructure before the disaster. It is said that it runs through the north and south of East Lake, shortening the time for people in the south to go to the north. The tunnel is quite strong. It was still in use for many years after the disaster, but more than 10 years ago, the main structure was destroyed by an earthquake. Although there has been no water seepage, it is said that it has been in danger of collapse, so Zhou completely closed the East Lake Tunnel. Didn't Zhou repair this tunnel? Ren Xiaosu asked. Of course not. The various consortiums are busy researching and developing weapons and military forces. Their infrastructure capabilities are far worse than before the disaster, one person explained, but the tunnel is very long. How could the laboratory be hidden in the tunnel? The tunnel is dark, and there are many emergency passages that only maintenance workers are allowed to enter. Maybe the laboratory is hidden underground behind a door. It seems that the fire company was very secretive before, one person sighed. Ren Xiaosu packed up his things and walked out of the bath center. He didn't have time to waste time with this group of bigwigs. At this moment, there were probably countless monsters rushing to the East Lake Tunnel. This text message was like Anjing Temple declaring war on the fire company. I have found you and know where your laboratory is. Many people are rushing there now. Are you going? If you don't go, so many people will definitely find your laboratory before you. If you go, you will have to face so many enemies. It was already late at night. Because of the curfew, there were no pedestrians on the number 73 barrier street, and it looked very deserted. Ren Xiaosu walked on the street where even the street lights were turned off. He knew that this quietness would not last long. Tonight, barrier 73 must be particularly lively. Gunshots were heard in the distance. The crisp sound in the night sky was like the prelude to a midnight feast. Chapter 537, Waiting for the Opportunity. The night was like a cloud, covering the entire barrier. The black cloud was boundless, and under the cloud, many people were on their way. The East Lake in the night was pitch black, like a huge magnet, attracting all the small iron sand in the barrier. Ren Xiaosu guessed that there would be many monsters coming this time, but he didn't expect so many. But think about it, not counting other forces, there are probably dozens of A-level killers from Anjing Temple alone. After all, only those who hunted down members of the fire company in this hunting operation would be eligible to participate in the Anjing Temple selection next year. Ren Xiaosu estimated that at least half of the A-level killers from Anjing Temple came this time. However, the closer Ren Xiaosu got to the East Lake, the more he felt something was wrong. According to Zhou Yingsu, the fire company was not an easy organization to deal with, otherwise it would not have 8 barriers in a place like Zhanggyun. Such a huge organization, how could its plan be easily disrupted? Moreover, why is the address of this laboratory in an abandoned tunnel? The East Lake Tunnel originally had 3 entrances, but according to the bigwigs of the Bath Center, 2 of the entrances of the tunnel were blocked, and it was impossible to enter without blasting. A tunnel with only 1 entrance, such a confined space, and it was at the bottom of the lake. If this tunnel collapsed, the people inside would be helpless and it would be difficult for them to get out alive. Seeing the fanatical eyes of those travelers, Ren Xiaosu gradually slowed down his pace. At this moment, Ren Xiaosu heard someone whispering not far away, "Isn't this the boy who ran at night?" Ren Xiaosu turned around and saw a man in a cleaner's uniform. He had seen him before. After all, it was quite conspicuous to wear a headset while cleaning. Ren Xiaosu was a little puzzled at the time. He didn't know which force was pretending to be a cleaner. Did he really think that no one could see the headset on his ear? But Ren Xiaosu didn't have time to pay attention to them. Instead, he was surprised to see a man in a director's vest leading a dozen people, carrying cameras and some equipment, and running wildly on the road. This must be the legendary movie director, right? Exclamation mark. The director was seen running while shouting, hurry up, don't miss the most exciting shots. If these things are edited and made into a documentary about supernatural people, I will be famous." Ren Xiaosu was stunned for a moment. Someone wants to make a documentary about supernatural people? The next moment, Ren Xiaosu suddenly saw a familiar figure, who was running very fast in front of him. Ren Xiaosu just felt a little familiar, but couldn't remember who he was for a while. Wait, isn't that Wang Kongyang? His steam train was copied from him, how could he forget such an important person? But how did this guy appear in barrier number 73? When Ren Xiaosu wanted to catch up and hide him with a club, Wang Kongyang had disappeared and no one knew where he went. When Ren Xiaosu arrived outside the tunnel entrance, it was already a green land, with weeds growing wildly, and gradually drying up in late autumn. Ren Xiaosu lay in the grass, and did not rush in. He just watched the monsters turn on their flashlights and rush into the tunnel. The people behind saw someone rushing in, and without thinking much, they rushed in. It was too chaotic at this time. There were probably hundreds of people gathered nearby. No one had much time to think. Most people were thinking about the fact that they could sell a page of laboratory information for a sky-high price. There were still a few people who could keep calm like Ren Xiaosu. However, Ren Xiaosu was not idle either. He directly materialized the shadow, but this time he was careful and directly controlled the shadow to wear his clothes, put on a hood, and put on a white mask. This was something Yang Xiaojun had reminded him of before. Since he didn't want the shadow's affairs to be exposed, he could just disguise the shadow as a person. At this moment, the shadow was wearing his clothes and a mask, looking like a normal human being, while Ren Xiaosu himself put on a hood and lay quietly in the bushes. Suddenly, Ren Xiaosu saw the crew behind him, who had left a distance, coming to the entrance of the tunnel. It can be said that this group of people is really brave. Can ordinary people like them come to such a place? But then the director said, It's right here, set up the equipment quickly. The dozen or so people in the crew became busy in an instant. Some set up the camera, some laid the rails, and some carried a small stool for the director. Someone in the crew was afraid and said, "Director, is there really no danger here? My wife is about to give birth, and I don't want anything to happen." The director said angrily, "Don't make random flags. We are all in this business. Don't you know that you can't say such things?" Ren Xiaosu, the crew member next to him, said in embarrassment, "But the people here are very dangerous." The director said disdainfully, "This is art. Do you understand? Do you know what art is? Without the spirit of dedication to art, how can you make a wonderful documentary?" "Director, you never said you wanted to make a documentary before." "We have always made commercial films," the crew member muttered. "Great ideas are often born in a flash," the director said proudly. "Think about it, the world has changed, right? Has anyone sent a documentary about real superhumans? At most, they would ask superhumans to make a movie. But what are we doing now? We want to present this magical world to the audience, so that they can know what the real superhuman world looks like. Don't you think this idea is so exciting that it makes people unable to sleep? Once it is filmed, I will leave my name in history." Ren Xiaosu pouted in the grass nearby. He just hoped that the crew would stay away from him in shadow. As for filming documentaries, let's wait until you can survive. Seeing more and more people entering the tunnel, Ren Xiaosu remained unmoved. After all, his goal was to capture a member of the Spark Company to complete a task for Zhou Yingsu, not to obtain any laboratory data. Ren Xiaosu just wanted to send Zhou Yingsu to Anjing Temple. He would be very satisfied if he could achieve this goal. Besides, maybe the laboratory data is really valuable, but the person who grabs the data has to go out through this only exit, right? So Ren Xiaosu felt that there was nothing wrong with him waiting here for the opportunity. Chapter 538, The Fall of East Lake. The crew's camera was pointed at the dark tunnel entrance. More and more people went in, and more people were lying in the bushes outside. At this time, the director even raised the microphone and began to interview the people lying in the bushes, as if he was looking for extraordinary people in the crowd. When he passed by Ren Xiaosu, someone asked the director, "Why don't you interview the boy just now? He doesn't look too powerful." "I can tell at a glance that he is not an extraordinary person," said the director. Then, the director saw a shadow not far away. His eyes lit up when he saw the shadow wearing a white mask. Hurry, go interview him, he looks very powerful." Ren Xiaosu lay on the grass in silence for a long time. The original extremely tense atmosphere was suddenly mixed with some inexplicable factors because of the arrival of this crew. At this time, Ren Xiaosu saw the bigwigs he had made friends with in the bath center before rushing over. Seeing that the other party was about to enter the tunnel without thinking, Ren Xiaosu couldn't help but stop them. "Zhang Hongning, come here." Zhang Hongning was happy to see Ren Xiaosu. "Dr. Ren, you are here too, why don't you go in?" Ren Xiaosu waved to them. "Don't go in yet, wait and see." "What's there to wait and see? If you wait for a while, all the information will be snatched away," Zhang Hongning said. Ren Xiaosu glanced at him and said, "Is it so easy to rob? Just wait and see. Anyway, the people who get the information inside will come out from here." After Ren Xiaosu's reminder, Zhang Hongning patted his forehead and said, "That's right." As he spoke, there were probably dozens of people lying in the bushes outside the tunnel. What made Ren Xiaosu feel strange was that he never saw anyone from the Spark Company or the Knights enter the tunnel from beginning to end. Could it be that the Spark Company and the Knights gave up directly because there were so many people? Or, is it really just a conspiracy as he guessed? However, at this moment, Ren Xiaosu heard a text message alert in his pocket. He looked up at the others and saw that among the nearly 100 people in the bushes, more than 20 people took out their phones at the same time. The light of the phone was like a firefly in the bushes. Ren Xiaosu looked at the text message and saw that Jingxi suddenly changed his words and began to remind all the killers not to act rashly and wait outside the tunnel. Anjing Temple did not say the reason, but this sudden text message cast a shadow on everyone's heart. Suddenly, someone stood up with a mobile phone in his hand and said, "Those with mobile phones should be Anjing Temple's killers. I think that not all of the people present are A level, but also B level and C level. I think we B level and C level should unite to hunt down the members of the Fire Company, so that we will have a better chance. Those of us with mobile phones." The person who spoke was a B-level killer. He was about to be promoted to A level, and he also had some ambitions to join the Anjing Temple selection, but he himself was not sure that he could kill the members of the fire company, so he wanted to instigate everyone to kill together. Not only A-level killers gathered here, but also a large number of local B-level and C-level killers who wanted to take advantage of the fire. After all, whether they participated in the selection next year or not, killing members of the fire company today would be rewarded. However, the other party's words reminded Ren Xiaosu. Yes, there are more than 20 mobile phones here. As the B-level killer was talking, he suddenly saw a man wearing a white mask and a hood rising from the bushes, coming in front of him, and knocking him out. Let's not talk about the fire company. This time, the Anjing Temple operation actually gathered all the killers carrying mobile phones together, giving Ren Xiaosu a chance to catch them all in one fell swoop. This turn of events was unexpected by everyone. Why did they start snatching mobile phones just because of a disagreement? Exclamation mark. Did everyone just say that they would work together to hunt down the fire company? Zhang Hongning, who was next to Ren Xiaosu, watched the shadows chasing the killers and suddenly sighed. I wish I could become such a powerful, extraordinary person someday. Ren Xiaosu looked at the entrance of the tunnel and said modestly, not that powerful. As a result, Zhang Hongning said to Ren Xiaosu seriously, Dr. Ren, I know you are young and energetic, but admitting that others are powerful is also a sign of self-confidence. When Ren Xiaosu heard this, he knew he had said the wrong thing. He was being modest subconsciously, but Zhang Hongning didn't know that it was his shadow. But at this moment, a roar suddenly came from the tunnel. In just a moment, the fire and smoke in the tunnel spewed out like a sandstorm. The smoke was expelled by the huge explosion airflow in the tunnel. Some people who had just entered the tunnel were suddenly lifted dozens of meters outside the tunnel. The camera of the crew next to it just happened to record this shocking scene. The roar of the explosion has awakened the entire barrier. But the explosion did not end. In the explosion, the tunnel gradually made a cracking sound like a glacier disintegrating. Ren Xiaosu murmured, the tunnel is going to collapse. As soon as the voice fell, the tunnel that existed before the disaster collapsed. Ren Xiaosu suddenly realized that this tunnel was actually a counterattack plan of the fire company against Anjing Temple. If it were not for the careful installation of explosives at each tunnel support point, it would be impossible to collapse the tunnel in an instant. A huge whirlpool suddenly rolled up on the surface of the East Lake, and the flood swept into every corner of the tunnel in an instant, but there was no wailing here, only because the sound of the tunnel collapsing and blasting, and the sound of the water swallowing the tunnel, had completely covered the wailing inside. Hundreds of lives in the tunnel all fell in just the blink of an eye. It was as fast as a meteor in the sky. And Jingxi used a plan to target Huazhen. Just a text message attracted hundreds of people to interfere with Huazhen's plan, making Huazhen's secret operation a joke. But Huazhen was not a fool. They also used Jingxi's text message to kill hundreds of people with ulterior motives at the bottom of the East Lake. The director of the crew looked at this scene stupidly. It was different from the rivers and lakes he imagined. In his mind, the rivers and lakes should be swords, love, hatred, and vengeance. But the rivers and lakes in front of him were only cruel. He saw those people enter the tunnel with his own eyes, and the camera still had the video footage of those people. But in just a short while, all the people who passed by him were gone. Ren Xiaosu thought that he had never seen anyone from the Spark Company or the Knights organization from beginning to end. Perhaps Anjing Temple had also discovered this, so he sent a text message to notify them to wait and see. But the text message was sent too late. Chapter 539, Doctor with Wide Range of Practice. East Lake is falling. No, to be precise, East Lake will return to its original peaceful state sooner or later, but the tunnel before the disaster has fallen. Ren Xiaosu looked at this scene, as if he was watching the civilization disappear. The war and calculation between humans may really be the eternal theme. But before he could sigh for too long, Ren Xiaosu saw that someone was surrounding the outside of the tunnel. In the shadows, the other party was holding a black ceramic knife, and it seemed that he wanted to encircle all the people in the bushes here. Ren Xiaosu suddenly realized that this was probably the follow-up plan of the fire company. The fire company wanted to establish its prestige. In the past, it was only Anjing Temple and the thugs who had been fighting against them, but this time was different. Anjing Temple attracted so many monsters with just a text message, which made the fire company feel a sense of crisis. They must also let the entire underground world know through this incident that the things of the fire company are not so easy to worry about. The fire company did not intend to communicate properly with these monsters in the underground world. They firmly believed that as long as these mobs were killed and frightened, no one would respond to the call of Anjing Temple next time. At least before coming, you should first weigh whether you are qualified. People die for money, birds die for food. These 8 words are like a portrayal of the situation at midnight today. Until this moment, those who came for the laboratory data at the fire company realized how cruel the fire company was. But it was too late. The more than 30 people who surrounded them suddenly exerted their strength, and the encirclement was reduced in just a breath. Seeing that the situation was not good, nearly 100 people in the bushes wanted to rush out and break through the encirclement. But the people who surrounded the fire company were extremely fierce. When someone broke through them, he was blocked by the other party and stabbed with a knife. Not only that, the fire company's lurking personnel in the number 73 barrier must be more than 40. In the distance, a sniper began to kill members of the Spark Company. It seemed that Njingxi had started a counterattack, but the sniper only fired 2 shots before he screamed in pain and was beheaded. The member of the Spark Company's Dusk team who attacked the sniper was pierced through the head by a thin metal needle. The old man who was playing with sugar painting sat next to Vanilla and spread out his aluminum plate, stove, and iron pot. As the sugar cubes turned amber in the red-hot iron pot, the old man waved his hand and drew a dragon on the aluminum plate, guarding Vanilla closely. The two seemed to have a tacit cooperation. One drew the dragon to guard, and the other concentrated on controlling the metal to kill the enemy. When the first amber dragon appeared, the old man wiped the sweat from his head and said, "Can you give me a heads up next time? Don't be so hasty. My ability needs time." Vanilla smiled and said, "Look, isn't it in time?" As he spoke, he opened a silver box in his hand, and there were 24 special metal needles in it. He picked up his finger and 12 metal needles flew up and rotated, floating in front of Vanilla, as if looking for a target. The needles shot out as if they had eyes. Someone in the darkness cried out in pain. Vanilla killed the Spark Company's combat personnel lurking nearby. In the darkness nearby, more members of the Spark Company appeared. Some even came out of the river. They had something like fish gills on their cheeks to help them breathe underwater. These people were the ones who detonated the explosives on the structure outside the tunnel. It can be said that the fall of East Lake was their masterpiece. At this time, the mission was accomplished, and they naturally had to rush out of the water to assist in the battle. But Ren Xiaosu was at a loss. Is this still considered human? Has the degree of genetic modification of the fire company reached the level of changing the characteristics of species? And seeing that the number of people who appeared before and after the fire company was almost 100, Ren Xiaosu was wondering whether there was a so-called laboratory in the number 73 barrier? Did the fire company really come to find a laboratory, or did it choose the place with the most favorable geographical location to plot against Njingxi? Njingxi's text message followed: "Increase the bounty amount, any level of killer in the encirclement, as long as they kill the members of the fire company, they can get double the reward." Ren Xiaosu frowned at the text message. You know, he is probably the only one in the encirclement who can receive the text message now, and the phones of others are still in the shadow. Njingxi probably didn't expect that it was obviously a group text message, but Ren Xiaosu made it feel like a private chat. Then, the A-level killers of Njingxi outside suddenly appeared and intercepted the group of water ghosts of the fire company members. These A-level killers must have something special to be able to reach this level, so they did not rush into the tunnel. Chaos emerged one after another, and underworld tycoons like Zhang Hongning could only be at a loss. This was no longer a battlefield they could control. Just as they said, the world had become incomprehensible to them. The mantis stalks the cicada, while the oriole waits behind. In this chaotic battle, it is no longer clear who is the cicada, who is the mantis, and who is the oriole. Only when the battle is over can the final conclusion be made. It all depends on who has more cards in hand. The fishy and sweet blood began to spread near the bushes, and the number of deaths increased. Just as the tycoon Zhang Hongning and others were thinking about what to do, they suddenly heard Dr. Ren beside them whispering, "If you don't want to die, follow me." Before he finished speaking, Ren Xiaosu's figure had already moved. He rushed to the southwest, where the gap just made by the A-level sniper of Anjing Temple was. Zhang Hongning and his companions followed Ren Xiaosu outside without much thought, but before they could get out of the encirclement, Spark Company had already filled the gap. Zhang Hongming felt desperate. Dr. Ren, what should we do now? Why panic? Ren Xiaosu said coldly. 8 members of Spark Company rushed towards them with a sneer, but before they could get in front of Ren Xiaosu, a figure wearing a white mask flashed out from the side, grabbed a member of Spark Company by the neck like lightning, and rushed forward in an extremely fierce manner. Zhang Hongming and his companions were stunned. Why did they feel that this extraordinary person who had just robbed many mobile phones and was envied by him seemed to be deliberately protecting Dr. Ren in front of him? They silently looked at the back of the boy in front of them, and always felt that they seemed to have recognized the wrong true god. However, why was this Dr. Ren holding his phone and taking photos while running for his life? Zhang Hongming asked in panic. Dr. Ren, now is not the time to fiddle with your phone. Put it away and run for your life. Don't read the text messages from Anjing Temple. Ren Xiaosu said in surprise. I'm not reading text messages, I'm taking photos. One head is worth hundreds of thousands or millions. This is all money. I have to keep evidence that my friend Lao Su and I killed him. Zhang Hongming was speechless. It was already this time, and he was still thinking about money. He asked, aren't you a doctor? Ren Xiaosu grinned and said, well, my business is quite extensive. There will be 2 more chapters to be updated in the evening, but it will be a little later. Friends who go to bed early don't have to wait, you can read it tomorrow morning. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelists. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 540, Fancy. Now, the entire battlefield can no longer be described as an encirclement. There are countless people fighting in the chaos, including people from Anjing Temple, A-level assassins outside Anjing Temple, Spark Company, and various forces that came to seize laboratory data. They are intertwined with each other, and sometimes even the enemy and us cannot be distinguished. Ren Xiaosu broke through very decisively. Originally, Spark Company saw him killing his colleagues and planned to come to encircle and kill them, but they found that Ren Xiaosu and his group left very resolutely. The Spark Company personnel in charge of commanding the operation said calmly in the communication channel, let them go. For Spark Company, tonight's action is to establish prestige. There is no need to fight to the death with 1 or 2 extraordinary people, and the other party is obviously not easy to mess with. Since they want to leave, let them go. But just as the voice fell, someone suddenly said in the communication channel, he's back again. The commander frowned. How many people are back? Just 2 people, one with a hooded boy whose face cannot be seen clearly, and the other wearing a white mask, someone reported in the communication channel. The commander said, send out another lurking dusk team to encircle and suppress them. Before he finished speaking, someone else said in the communication channel, they left again. The commander of Spark Company was speechless. What was the other party doing? They came and left as they pleased! Exclamation mark. However, this also indirectly showed that they really couldn't stop the other party now. The commander said coldly in the communication channel, don't worry about them. Just do your best to cause casualties. What we need is to spread the tragic news here so that these people will not dare to come and make trouble for themselves next time. The purpose of Spark Company is to let the outside world know that coming here will cost a price. As for the details during the period, it will not have any impact on the overall situation. The other party is only 1 or 2 people, and there is no real laboratory side in the tunnel. They are really not afraid of them making trouble. Just a moment ago, Ren Xiaosu led Zhang Hongming and others to break out and stopped. Originally, Ren Xiaosu was very good at controlling the shadow to kill people. He wanted to lure out some of the Spark Company to chase him, so that he only had to face a small number of the chasers. In this way, he could earn a reward and catch 1 or 2 to complete the task for Zhou Yingsu. But he suddenly found that the other party didn't chase him anymore. Now Ren Xiaosu was anxious. He told Zhang Hongming, if there is nothing else, leave the number 73 barrier quickly. I think Zhou's troops are probably coming soon. You have seen the situation here. This is not a place for you to intervene. Go back to the black market. Lao Su, let's go. As he said that, Ren Xiaosu was about to take the shadow back to the battlefield. This was the first time Ren Xiaosu came back in the Spark Company communication channel. But halfway through, Ren Xiaosu always felt as if he had forgotten something, so he turned back and grabbed Zhang Hongning. You haven't said thank you yet. Zhang Hongning and others looked at Ren Xiaosu dully, feeling like they were looking at a monster. At this time, he was still killing in and out of the battlefield, just to let them say thank you? Exclamation mark. Thank you. Thank you. Ren Xiaosu watched the printer in the palace type out lines of information about the thank you coins, and then he returned to the battlefield with satisfaction. Although it would take 10,000 thank you coins to unlock the weapons in the next stage, it was a long way off, but a little bit would add up to a lot. To be honest, he was still looking forward to the third weapon. The first one was the black knife, and the second one was the black sniper. No matter which one, they were very useful and could help Ren Xiaosu a lot at a critical moment. The reason why Ren Xiaosu chose to return to the battlefield was of course money was one factor. But more importantly, didn't Jingxi say that only if one person from the fire company was killed in this hunt, the A-level killer would have the opportunity to participate in the selection next year? Ren Xiaosu suddenly thought of something. The A-level killers who could participate in the selection next year were basically all here. He definitely couldn't kill these people, otherwise Jingxi and the fire company would probably hunt him down together. Although he didn't want to kill the A-level killers, he could make sure that the A-level killers had no one to kill. As long as these A-level killers failed to hunt successfully, they would naturally lose the qualification to participate in the selection next year. Someone in the market town once told a story. It said that there was a dragon that ate the girls in the village. The village elected a hero with the best martial arts to slay the dragon, but the hero felt that he could not defeat the dragon, so he turned all the girls in the village into women and then starved the dragon to death. Of course, everyone treated this as a joke, but this method was similar to what Ren Xiaosu was doing now, which is called cutting off the firewood from under the cauldron. At this time, the crew was trembling in fear when facing the members of the Spark Company who were walking towards them step by step. In the end, it was the director who was braver. He forced himself to be calm and said, "Hello, we are the crew of Powerful Media. We are here just to shoot some footage. We have no intention of intervening in your dispute. Please ask, can you let us go?" The member of the desk team in front of them did not make a decision on his own. He looked at the crew's filming equipment, and then asked in the communication channel, "Commander, there is a crew shooting footage here. They say they are from Powerful Media. Should we kill them or not?" The commander thought for a moment and sneered, "Take their filming equipment and let the people go. This kind of person has some influence in various barriers and is often seen in newspapers. Letting him go can also help us promote it." The desk squad members in front of the crew looked at the director and said, "You are the director, right? You are definitely not allowed to take the equipment away, but you can go. Take a good look at this purgatory scene and go back to tell the world not to like to join in the fun. In today's world, watching the fun can cost lives." As soon as he said this, the desk squad combatant's face changed. He heard the sound of wind behind him, and instinctively did a backflip and jumped up. The whole person turned upside down in the sky, and the black ceramic knife in his hand also chopped behind him. All this happened in a flash. The people in the crew didn't even see his movements clearly, but the newcomer moved faster. Before the desk squad member's knife swung, the black knife in the hand of the newcomer had already chopped down diagonally. The two black knives collided in the middle, but the black ceramic knife in the desk squad member's hand was cut off like a candle, and the end was smooth and flat. The black knife in Ren Xiaosu's hand stabbed diagonally from the opponent's chest, and the opponent's bulletproof vest was also cut apart. Ren Xiaosu looked at the corpse of the desk squad member and sneered, "Fancy." The director stared blankly at the boy in front of him. Half of his face was hidden in the shadow of the hood. He suddenly felt a little excited. This was probably the Jiang who he was looking for. Chapter 541. The pot is getting bigger again. While the director was stunned, Ren Xiaosu took out his cell phone and took a photo of the body on the ground. However, Ren Xiaosu is very low-key now. He basically changes his cell phone after completing a task, and never receives two rewards with the same identity. After all, the cell phones he just grabbed today are basically B level and C level. It is already very good to be able to kill people from the fire company. Killing too many people will easily arouse suspicion. But what Ren Xiaosu didn't know was that this gave Enjing Temple a false impression. The people in charge of dispatching tasks there felt that they still had many people on the battlefield, and they were very powerful. He said in the communication channel, How are you guys doing? Have you killed all the water ghosts? Vanilla loosened his tie, almost. Well, don't worry, our killers on the battlefield are very powerful. They still have a lot of people and have killed many members of the fire company. Vanilla suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. That's good. Did you see the boss? No, the boss intercepted the fire's backup combat team alone in the wilderness, and she can't make it now, said the dispatcher. Vanilla whistled. Boss, you're awesome. At this time, Ren Xiaosu finished taking pictures and was about to leave to find the next target, but someone caught up with him. Hey, brother, can you leave me your contact information? My name is Muwanj. Ren Xiaosu turned around and saw that it was the director. It would have been fine if the other party didn't say anything. When he spoke, Ren Xiaosu remembered that he had forgotten something again. He didn't ask the other party to say thank you, but to take out the film and the other party's filming equipment and destroy it. After all, the crew was very close to him just now. Who knows if the camera will scan him? Muwanj was stunned. My film? Huh? Ren Xiaosu looked back at him. Muwanj stopped talking about the film for a moment. Can I invite you to star in my next movie? The main reason was that the figure of Ren Xiaosu swinging the knife just now kept lingering in his mind. The director himself was a visual artist, and he just thought that the scene just now was too amazing. But Ren Xiaosu glanced at him with a puzzled expression and turned around to continue looking for a target. Acting in a movie by yourself? Isn't this nonsense? Moreover, it was still unclear whether the director could get out alive. An injured A-level killer was fleeing, and a member of the Twilight Squad was chasing him. The A-level killer could no longer hear the gunshots and shouts of killing in the chaotic battlefield. The rustling sound of the grass under his feet and his heavy breathing were getting louder and louder. He felt as if he had never been so tired. He wanted to lie down on the grass and sleep forever, and not have to participate in the fame and fortune and disputes at the moment. But the people chasing him were getting closer and closer, and he didn't want to die. Just when the members of the Twilight Squad were about to catch up with him, he suddenly heard a wailing behind him. The A-level killer looked back and saw a hooded boy cutting the aorta on the neck of an enemy in an instant. The Twilight Squad member seemed to have no power to fight back in front of this boy, and even the ceramic knife would be easily cut off. He wanted to walk over and say thank you, but saw a figure wearing a white mask coming out from the side and snatched the body of the Twilight Squad member away. The A-level killer was stunned for a moment. Is this to steal the reward? Before he could say anything, the boy who saved him ran away after the figure who was trying to steal the reward. From beginning to end, the A-level killer was confused. He didn't even know who saved him. Another A-level killer was chasing a lone member of the Dusk Squad. The other party had been shot and couldn't run far. Seeing that he was about to get a place in the selection next year, a hooded white masked figure suddenly rushed out from the side and knocked out the Dusk Squad member he was chasing, then carried him and ran away. The change in front of him made the A-level killer stunned. When the shadow ran away, he didn't react to what happened. Fuck, the A-level killer was angry. He finally found a lone prey, but it was robbed by someone? An A-level killer had just finished fighting. In front of him lay the body of a Dusk Squad member. Just as he was about to take a photo and hand in the task, a figure wearing a white mask suddenly rushed out. He raised his gun with his right hand and was about to shoot, but the other party was not coming for him. The white masked figure passed by him quickly. The A-level killer fired 2 shots, but the other party acted as if nothing had happened. The A-level killer was a little panicked. How could he meet a monster that was not afraid of bullets here? But when he was about to retreat and use his extraordinary ability, the other party had already gone far away. The A-level killer looked down and saw that the body of the Dusk Squad member he had just killed was gone. The A-level killer looked at the back of the shadow leaving. Fuck. He couldn't understand why the other party, who was so skilled and seemed invulnerable, didn't hunt the target himself, but came to steal his prey? Exclamation mark. This is too despicable. However, from the beginning to the end, Xiaosu was the good guy, and the blame was on Laosu. Anyway, Zhang Hongning, who knew that he and Laosu were friends, should have already fled to the black market. Zhang Hongning and his men had no connection with Anjing Temple and the Spark Company, so Ren Xiaosu was not afraid of being found out. What if they knew? He had already robbed them. Things like this happened from time to time in the chaotic battlefield. Originally, Ren Xiaosu wanted to continue to do a few more, but Zhou's troops suddenly surrounded him. The explosion of the East Lake Tunnel by the Spark Company was not small, but Joe seemed to be pretending to be asleep, not caring how many people died here. Until now, when the battlefield was almost indistinguishable from the enemy, they finally arrived. In the chaotic battlefield, no matter which side wanted to fight with a regular army, the defenders in the number 73 fortress had at least 4,500 people, which was the strength of a brigade. No matter how powerful the extraordinary people were or how famous the underground world was, it was impossible for them to confront a combat brigade head-on. And everyone knows that there is no laboratory information in the East Lake Tunnel, so what is there to linger here? Pyrotechnics and Anjing Temple were the first to withdraw. Ren Xiaosu felt that pyrotechnics should have had a slight advantage in the whole incident. Although the number of casualties in pyrotechnics was much higher than that in Anjing Temple because of him, from now on, there will not be so many monsters and demons to join Anjing Temple in pyrotechnics. Anjing Temple can no longer take advantage of the situation. Ren Xiaosu also left the battlefield, but he had a few doubts throughout the battle. First, he never saw the knights enter the battlefield, and second, he did not meet his old acquaintance Wang Konggang. Did Wang Konggang die directly in the tunnel? No, with Wang Konggang's wretched personality, how could he rashly enter the East Lake Tunnel? Ren Xiaosu had a hunch that the battle in barrier number 73 would happen again. After all, Anjing Temple in pyrotechnics still had spare strength, but it had nothing to do with him. He had already captured the members of pyrotechnics he wanted, and he would go back to complete the task for Zhou Yingsu. It's not that Ren Xiaosu doesn't want to stay, but he can't. After all, he robbed so many mobile phones from Anjing Temple and many prey from A-level killers. He also killed so many people from Spark Company. When the melee is over, the other party will think about it and realize how much he has done. By then, it won't be surprising if the two organizations join forces to hunt down Lao Su. The surface of East Lake has calmed down. A ray of moonlight shines on the lake, sparkling. After the melee, no one seems to care that hundreds of lives were buried at the bottom of the lake overnight. What more people are thinking about is whether there is a Spark Company laboratory in barrier number 73. Horizontal ellipsis. Su Xianshu, who was far away in Fortress 178, was thinking about his abilities. Zhou Yinglong said unhappily beside him, "Put your pot back to me." What's there to show off? Zhou Yinglong suddenly found that Su Xianshu was stunned. He quickly said, "I was kidding you," but Su Xianshu asked doubtfully, "Do you feel that my pot has just gotten a little bigger?" Zhou Yinglong thought Su Xianshu was showing off to him again. Get lost. The 5th chapter is over. I finally made up for the 2 chapters I owed. Chapter 542 The Dust Settles. After leaving Barrier 73, Ren Xiaosu no longer cared about what would happen inside the barrier. While he was on his way to meet up with the maid, Jingxi was still sending some tasks against the Spark Company through text messages. From this point of view, the battle in Barrier 73 did not end with the fall of East Lake. However, 2 days later, Jingxi did not send any text messages about Barrier 73. Ren Xiaosu judged that the battle should be completely over, and Jingxi and Spark Company would withdraw from Barrier 73. As for whether there was any laboratory information there, Ren Xiaosu suddenly felt that there should be some. Because, since the beginning of the melee, he had not seen anyone from the Knight organization. These people came to find the laboratory, and they disappeared when the melee started. Most likely they went to find the real laboratory. Moreover, Ren Xiaosu felt that the Knight organization and Spark Company only had the same goal, but they were not really in tacit understanding. If there was no laboratory here, Spark Company would not be able to call the Knight organization over. So, while Spark Company was fighting to the death to plot against Jingxi, the Knight organization went straight to the laboratory? I'm afraid this is also one of the plans of the Fire Company. Ren Xiaosu carried a corpse of a member of the Fire Company in his storage space, ready for Zhou Yingsu to complete the task. The two were discussing how to pose for a photo. As a result, Anjing Temple sent a text message to inform, because of the deliberate violation of the rules by special personnel, the previous rule of hunting down members of the Fire Company to participate in the selection next year was cancelled, and the A-level still had to complete 5 tasks within a year. Ren Xiaosu is stunned. He spent so much effort to help Zhou Yingsu eliminate other A-level killers, but this text message from Anjing Temple made his work in vain? Exclamation mark. Ren Xiaosu was a little angry. How could such a big organization not even have the most basic credibility? After seeing this text message, Zhou Yingsu suddenly looked up at Ren Xiaosu. Master, what on earth did you do in barrier number 73? It was just a matter of a moment, and Zhou Yingsu realized that the rule breaker mentioned in this text message must be her master, not someone else. Ren Xiaosu's face was dark. Am I that kind of person in your eyes? Yes, you are. Zhou Yingsu said firmly. Ren Xiaosu. This time, Ren Xiaosu really played big. Anjing Temple had more than 30 A-level killers, and excluding the 11 who died, there were still 26 people left. But among these 26 people, only 2 people were qualified to participate in the selection next year. If the number of people exceeded 5, Anjing Temple would not have cancelled the rule. It was really forced by Ren Xiaosu to take back its own rules. Anjing Temple did not want to do this. Ren Xiaosu seemed to be seen by the tour team when he returned to the hotel, so as soon as he returned to the hotel, Li Ran came to find Zhou Yingsu and dragged Zhou Yingsu to talk for 2 hours before leaving. Zhou Yingsu was almost broken by the chat. Ren Xiaosu laughed cheerfully and said, "It seems that your relationship has improved a lot during the time I was away." Zhou Yingsu rolled her eyes. It's obvious that she came to see you, master. By the way, Ren Xiaosu took out a pile of mobile phones. These phones all have completed the tasks. Each phone should have the reward for hunting down 1 or 2 members of the fire company. Calculate how much money there is. Zhou Yingsu stared blankly at the 20 or so mobile phones in front of her. She probably understood why Anjing Temple cancelled the rules. Master, didn't you say that the fire company only had 40 people in total? You have more than 20 now. More than 40, Ren Xiaosu shook his head. I feel that the fire company has more than 80 people who went. The information from Anjing Temple is wrong. Ren Xiaosu told Zhou Yingsu what happened before and after. Only then did Zhou Yingsu know that it was so dangerous for the master to go to barrier number 73 this time. It's a good thing that you didn't go into the tunnel, master, Zhou Yingsu said thankfully, but neither the fire company nor Anjing Temple are good people. I just hope that next time they fight, they won't involve us. Zhou Yingsu picked up the phone that Ren Xiaosu gave her and counted the remuneration one by one. There are a total of 15 early morning team remunerations and 6 dusk team remunerations. Originally, it was said to be 150,000 for each early morning team and 500,000 for each dusk team, but later Anjing Temple temporarily doubled the price, so here it is 10.5 million. After saying this, Zhou Yingsu smiled widely. You know, out of the 10.5 million, she got more than 2 million. She just lay in the hotel and did nothing, but she got the money. Where can you find such a good master in the world? Anjing Temple will definitely notice that there is a problem with these mobile phones. After all, A-level killers have not been able to hunt down many members of the Spark Company, but this group of B-level and C-level killers seem to be assisted by God. It must be abnormal, Ren Xiaosu asked. I think these accounts are probably also under surveillance. How can we transfer the money safely? Zhou Yingsu explained, this is not a difficult task. The simplest and crudest way is to go to the casino in Los Angeles. They can directly transfer funds from an anonymous account using the account number and password. The casino will exchange the money for chips, and then you can cash it out and transfer it to a new account or take the chips with you. This casino should belong to King, and the confidentiality is extremely good. Although there is a handling fee, it is worth it. Ren Xiaosu frowned. Even if it is from King, we can't trust it completely. Reputation is reputation, but we don't know what it is like in reality. Not really, Zhou Yingsu shook her head. Before, various consortiums have put pressure on the casino, hoping that they can freeze some accounts. As a result, the casino does not buy any consortium's account and only listens to King Group. Let's talk about it after we get back, Ren Xiaosu said. Write down the account passwords first, delete the text messages, and find a chance to sell these phones. It's another sum of money. You can sell them on the local black market. If you sell them in batches at each barrier, you won't have to sell too many at once to lower the price. Zhou Yingsu played her auxiliary role to the fullest. Ren Xiaosu didn't know much about the Central Plains, so with a former intelligence worker like Zhou Yingsu by his side, he could learn more about things. Where's the next stop? Ren Xiaosu asked. Tomorrow we'll leave for barrier number 74 to hold a concert. We'll stay at barrier number 74 for 4 days, and then go to barrier number 73 for a concert. Li Ran will have an audition at barrier number 73, Zhou Yingsu said. Ren Xiaosu was speechless when he heard about barrier number 73. Could he and barrier number 73 not get along? This was the third time he had to go there. I hope that when they arrive, the turmoil at barrier number 73 will have completely subsided. Chapter 543 Review. A tour should naturally include activities such as concerts, but Ren Xiaosu took some time out of his busy schedule. When everyone else in the team was busy, he stayed in the hotel reading a book. Li Ran's assistant Fang Zhi wanted Ren Xiaosu to go to the concert to help, but was ruthlessly rejected by Ren Xiaosu. At this moment, the combat sequence of Spark Company was holding a summary meeting to analyze the gains and losses of the Battle of Barrier number 73. Reviewing the game is extremely important for all commanders, just like students prepare a correction book to review the mistakes they have made in order to avoid making the same mistakes again. In the dim conference room, everyone sat upright. This place doesn't look like a conference room, but more like a confinement cell. One person said, "We successfully obtained the laboratory data this time. I have to say that the commander's plan of repairing the plank road in the open while secretly attacking Chengkang was brilliant. It also established the prestige of our Spark Company, so that those small fish would not dare to come and watch the fun in the future. I think the commander has made the greatest contribution here." The commander glanced at the person who spoke, and then said calmly, "Now is not the time to flatter. Report the specific casualties." The adjutant next to him said, 43 people died, 4 were seriously injured, and 17 were slightly injured. The commander frowned and said, "The casualties are much more tragic than we expected. You know, 1/3 of the people in this operation are members of the elite Dusk Squad. It's mainly the man with the white mask. If it weren't for him, there wouldn't be such a high number of casualties," the adjutant next to him calmly concluded, "but compared to our success, the headquarters should reward us for this casualty instead of punishing us." Hearing the commendation, everyone's eyes lit up. This will mean that they can get better genetic modification and greater authority. Authority is a symbol of status within the Spark Company. Now the commander is only T3 authority, and there are T4 and T5 above. If you want to become such a big man, I'm afraid there is still a long way to go. The commander glanced at the battle package and asked, "Who fought with a man wearing a white mask that day?" The adjutant replied, "The strange thing is here. Everyone who fought with him died. We can't even know what his extraordinary abilities are." At this time, the conference room was silent. Everyone who had fought head-on died. So it was difficult to get effective information about the other party? The most useful information they had now was that the other party was a male wearing a facial mask, and his gender was determined by his height and figure. "This person is listed as a P4 level dangerous person," the commander said. "Report the materials to the headquarters." Like T1 to T5, T represents the company's internal authority, and P represents the level of danger. The last dangerous person defined as P4 was Li Shenton in the southwest. As for P5, there has been no one so far, and it is just vacant. But Spark Company firmly believes that such a person will definitely appear in the era of the gods. Horizontal ellipsis. While the Fire Company was reviewing the situation, the Anjing Temple was also reviewing the situation. In a certain residential building, several people were discussing while eating around the dining table. "We still need to sum up the lessons learned this time. According to our judgment, the Fire Company has obtained the laboratory data through the Knights, but the Knights still seem to have not found what they want and immediately returned to Los Angeles. The more unexpected thing that day was that the Fire Company's lurking methods were more sophisticated than we knew, otherwise we would not have misjudged the number of their opponents. So we must be more careful in the future. The Fire Company is a very strong opponent. Don't underestimate them." Also, someone kept changing their mobile phones to receive the mission rewards that day, which caused us to misjudge the number of companions inside. Later we learned that the white mask who came out to disrupt the situation had robbed a batch of B-level and C-level mobile phones before the battle began, so the more than 20 members of the Fire Company were killed by him alone. Vanilla next to him had been frowning and listening, and only spoke at this time. "He killed so many by himself. Is he a god? How can he be so powerful? Do you have any detailed information about him? His identity is unknown, and his height is estimated to be between 182 and 185 centimeters. According to the A-level killer, his physical fitness is extremely strong, and he is very likely an extreme physical strength awakener," said a girl at the dinner table, touching her newly grown delicate fangs. "The A-level killer has never fought him head-on, so the Pyro Company should have more detailed information about him." The girl's fangs were a bit strange. They were much longer than other teeth and looked more like vampire teeth. Vanilla folded her arms and sat on a chair and said, "We must pay attention to this extraordinary person. He can freely enter and exit the chaotic battlefield and snatch other people's prey. It's like he is playing a game on the battlefield. The strength of this person is too terrifying." The girl with tiger teeth said, "But the other party really helped us kill many members of the Spark Company, so the boss means that all the rewards should be paid, and we must maintain this relationship and continue to wait and see." The old man playing with sugar painting on the side curled his lips and said, "How to pay attention to him? You don't know what he looks like, and he has so many mobile phones in his hands. How can you pay attention to him? Do you know which phone he will use to receive the next mission?" Wait, the girl with tiger teeth was stunned for a moment. Before, there was a D-level killer in barrier number 61 who always liked to snatch other people's mobile phones. The boss even went to the market town of barrier number 61 specifically. It can't be him. Vanilla felt her teeth ache. "You said this guy is idle and becomes a D-level killer? Why don't I believe it?" In fact, Anjing Temple once suspected Zhou Yingsu. After all, as soon as Zhou Yingsu arrived at barrier number 73 to kill Zhou Zilin, all the D-level killers there were wiped out. Now it seems that Zhou Yingsu's suspicion can be temporarily postponed, and the other party can be temporarily locked as a man. After all, Vanilla has seen Zhou Yingsu, and with Zhou Yingsu's figure, she can't disguise herself as a man even with a mask. In this melee, the man with the white mask became the focus of Spark Company and Anjing Temple after the war. Everyone wanted to find him, but there were no good clues. The light of this white mask even concealed the role played by Ren Xiaosu's body on the battlefield, and Ren Xiaosu was ignored. Vanilla asked, "Can we trace those anonymous accounts? As long as he goes to withdraw money, we can find his whereabouts." It's already being tested, but what I'm most worried about is that he went to King's Casino to launder the money. In this way, the last clue will be cut off. Chapter 544 Hope Media. It has been a week since the East Lake fell. Ren Xiaosu stayed in the hotel every day, as if the East Lake fell had nothing to do with him. Zhou Yingsu was very busy. As Li Ran's bodyguard, she always accompanied Li Ran to attend various events. I don't know what the media in the barrier were crazy about. They even paid attention to Zhou Yingsu and gave her the title of the most beautiful bodyguard. She was boasting for several days. After several performances, Li Ran looked a little tired. However, on the way to barrier 73, Li Ran did not take the business car, but sat in the car where Zhou Yingsu and Ren Xiaosu were, which surprised Ren Xiaosu. You know, when Li Ran sat in this car, he couldn't speak freely. After all, his identity was Zhou Yingsu's assistant. Ren Xiaosu wondered, wouldn't it be more comfortable for you to sit in that commercial vehicle? The seats in that commercial vehicle have been modified, and you can sleep and rest after lying completely flat. When you wake up, you will arrive at the destination. How comfortable is that? But Li Ran's reason was also very sufficient. I am worried about danger in the wilderness, so I want to sit in the same car with my bodyguards. Is it not okay? In this way, if I encounter danger, you can protect me at the first time. And everyone thinks that I will sit in that commercial vehicle. If someone attacks the motorcade, the commercial vehicle will be attacked first, and I will escape. Ren Xiaosu said speechlessly, where can there be so many robbers in the wilderness of the Central Plains to attack the motorcade? But the other party's reason was justified, and they couldn't really refuse Li Ran to get in the car. After the departure, Ren Xiaosu and Zhou Yingsu were silent. Li Ran was reading a newspaper in the back seat of the SUV, shaking the newspaper loudly. Ren Xiaosu couldn't help but look back. Li Ran immediately pretended to be reading the newspaper seriously. The page in her hand was facing Ren Xiaosu. Ren Xiaosu suddenly found that the whole page was about the news of Li Ran's great success in the tour. It seemed that it was on the front page. No wonder she shook the newspaper so loudly. It turned out that she wanted to show off this. The most eye-catching thing on the page was Li Ran's photo. It should be the costume she wore during the concert. It looked dazzling. Ren Xiaosu took a look and turned his head to continue to close his eyes and rest. Li Ran coughed twice. This newspaper of Hope Media has a great influence. It can be bought in the Zhou, Wang, and Kong consortiums. And it is said that in the several fortresses of the Spark Company, their newspapers can be bought at any newsstand. Zhou Yingsu rolled her eyes while driving. This woman just wanted to say that she could occupy the front page of such a newspaper. This is the most amazing thing. As a result, Ren Xiaosu is concerned about other aspects. What's the matter with Hope Media? Whose company is it? In his opinion, each consortium is relatively close to each other. After all, if you want to go to the barriers of other consortiums, you have to apply for clearance documents in advance. And how can Hope Media have such a large industry? This is the industry of King Group, Li Ren said with a smile. The final stop of the tour is set in Los Angeles, and it is also because we want to pay a visit to the editor-in-chief of Hope Media. Ren Xiaosu suddenly realized that it was the industry of King Group. No wonder. Newspapers, which are the mouthpieces of public opinion, must indeed belong to neutral forces to have the opportunity to spread to several barriers. It is difficult for Wang's paper media industry to develop to Zhou's. After all, the mouthpiece industry cannot be controlled by others. Moreover, King Group holds more than half of the satellites of the Barrier Alliance. In terms of the speed of message transmission, it is indeed completely overwhelming other paper media companies. News is all about timeliness. The faster the news, the more advantages you have. However, Ren Xiaosu asked curiously, "Can I have a look at this newspaper?" Li Ren was delighted, but said with some reserve, "Of course." However, Li Ren was immediately disappointed. Ren Xiaosu looked through all the pages, but he didn't even look at the entertainment page or the front page. This must be a deliberate attempt to leave him out, right? This must be the case. Zhou Yingsu felt funny in her heart. She knew very well that her master was really not interested in entertainment news at all. After Ren Xiaosu finished reading today's newspaper, he specially asked for all the newspapers stored in the fleet for a while, and read them all day. This newspaper of Hope Media is also very harsh. The current affairs section specifically criticizes current problems. Wang, Zhou, and Kong have all been criticized, and the Spark Company was not spared either. Ren Xiaosu was puzzled. Wasn't the editor-in-chief beaten to death for such a newspaper? When Hope Media first started, some people threatened and intimidated him, but the editor-in-chief still did it. I heard that he was kidnapped and locked up for 3 days and 3 nights, and his legs were broken. After he was released, the content was not changed at all, Li Ren explained. I don't know why no one cared about him later, and Hope Media grew rapidly because they liked to tell the truth. Ren Xiaosu was stunned for a moment. They didn't kill the editor-in-chief? Was it because the consortium still had face? To be honest, he didn't quite understand this matter. However, after reading so many newspapers, Ren Xiaosu suddenly became interested in Hope Media's newspapers, because just a few days of newspapers made him understand a lot about the Central Plains. For example, Wang's and 178 Fortress have signed a contract to build expressways and railways. Both parties are very concerned about this long-prepared matter. It is said that the expressway will be initially open to traffic in the middle of next year, and it will take 5 years to be completely built. It seems that Wang's demand for Northwest resources is very urgent. The newspaper of Hope Media also specifically reported the fall of East Lake, but the other party did not seem to know the whole story, and only focused on the reaction of various consortiums to the incident. During this period, Ren Xiaosu also saw reports about Luolan, but the reports about this guy were basically gossip. In the media newspapers, this guy was like a local tyrant nouveau riche from the southwest who came to Central Plains to enjoy life. However, there was a sentence at the end saying that Luolan's purpose of coming to Central Plains might not be so simple. Ren Xiaosu suddenly felt that this newspaper of Hope Media was a good thing. After that, passing by the barrier, buying the newspaper of the day became something that Ren Xiaosu had to do. Only Li Ren was sulking behind the SUV, because she was paying attention to Ren Xiaosu flipping through the newspaper the whole time, and then she found that Ren Xiaosu did not read entertainment news, but just did not read entertainment news about her. Zhou Yingsu was also wrong about this point. Ren Xiaosu is still very concerned about entertainment news. He was very much looking forward to seeing Luo Zinayu's photo on a certain version of entertainment news, but unfortunately there was no photo. Thanks to Jiang Hu Fengzhou for becoming the leader of this book, the boss is very generous. Chapter 545, Meeting Wen Konggang again. The tour team arrived at Barrier 73 that night. On the way, 2 more cars broke down. Fortunately, they brought maintenance workers and maintenance tools with them throughout the journey, otherwise they might be delayed halfway. When they arrived at Barrier 73, the outside of the barrier had changed. There was no longer only a market town, but a series of military camps were erected, as if there were thousands of troops stationed. If the tour team wanted to enter Barrier 73, they had to pass through the military camp first, but they were stopped at the gate of the military camp and began to be interrogated. There was no problem with the customs clearance documents, but everyone had to be searched. Fortunately, this military camp also had principals. Seeing that there were women in the tour team, they simply sent female nurses from the military camp to be responsible for the security inspection of women. As a result, the plainclothes soldiers brought by Li Ren and his team were searched thoroughly, and all the daggers and pistols on their bodies were taken away. They were told that they could come to the military camp to collect them after leaving the barrier. What surprised Li Ren and his friends was that Zhou Yingsu and Ren Xiaosu didn't have any weapons on them. However, they still couldn't enter the barrier after the security check because there was a curfew in the barrier, so they had to wait for dawn in the barracks. The barrier gate would only open after 7 a.m. Li Ren couldn't stand it. Seeing the barrier right in front of them, they had booked a hotel early. They were exhausted after a day of traveling, and they had to sit in the barracks until dawn. As a result, as soon as the soldier finished speaking, a convoy passed through the barracks and drove into the barrier. The barrier gate opened and then fell again. Li Ren was stunned and asked, "Didn't they say that the barrier gate was not open? What's the matter with this convoy?" "Those are people from the Zhou Consortium," the Zhou soldier said calmly. "The direct descendants of the Zhou Consortium enjoy privileges in the Zhou barrier. Isn't this a matter of course?" Li Ren whispered to his assistant Feng Zhi, "Can we contact the crew inside and ask them to help us think of a solution?" As a result, Feng Zhi took out a satellite phone to contact the crew, but when he came back, he said helplessly, "The other party said that we should solve this kind of thing ourselves." Li Ren was silent for a long time. She didn't expect this crew to be so ruthless. The other party obviously had a good relationship with the big shots of Zhou's company. She thought for a while and said, "Give these soldiers some money and try." But at this time, no one took the money. The other party explained that a big thing had just happened in the fortress. If they read the newspaper, they would know about the fall of Donghu. Now no one dared to make a mistake. No one dared to take the money. There was no way. Li Ren finally felt a little powerless in the face of the consortium troops. Money and relationships didn't seem to be so useful in the face of absolute military power. Ren Xiaosu didn't care. He just sat next to him and continued to read the newspaper, as if the soldiers with live ammunition coming and going next to him didn't exist. In the morning, after the New Hope media newspaper was delivered to the military camp, Ren Xiaosu even asked the officer for a newspaper in a familiar manner. The discipline of Zhou's troops is quite good. It was just a routine for them to keep the touring team out. There are also fans of Li Ren in the barracks, so no one will deliberately make things difficult for them. Ren Xiaosu read in today's newspaper that Zhou's troops intercepted and killed a team of Spark Company that was about to retreat, but no laboratory data was found. This made Ren Xiaosu ponder whether there was any laboratory data in barrier number 73. After the gate of the barrier was opened, Li Ren and others immediately entered the barrier and went to the booked hotel. In just one night, Li Ren had dark circles under his eyes, but Zhou Yingsu was fine. After all, the physique of a superhuman is far superior to that of an ordinary person. On the way to the hotel, Ren Xiaosu suddenly froze. "What's wrong?" Zhou Yingsu asked. Ren Xiaosu rolled up the car window. Li Ren had already returned to the nanny car, so he didn't have to be so careful when speaking. "Did you see that man? Put some of the 4-leaf clover juice on him. I need to know his whereabouts." Zhou Yingsu nodded. "Okay, but sir, who is he?" "You don't know him," Ren Xiaosu said. "His name is Wang Konggang, and I didn't expect him to appear here." With that, Zhou Yingsu's car left the convoy and parked on the side. Then she pretended to go buy breakfast. On the way to buy breakfast, she passed by Wang Konggang. Zhou Yingsu didn't even touch Wang Konggang, but she flicked a drop of grass juice on Wang Konggang's clothes. After doing this, Zhou Yingsu bought breakfast on her own, and then slowly returned to the car. "Master, do you want buns or fried dough sticks?" "I bought some for both." "Eat buns," Ren Xiaosu said with a frown. Wang Konggang hid in the crowd after passing by in the distance. He turned back quietly to watch Zhou Yingsu buy breakfast and then get back in the car. Then the car left without looking back and gradually disappeared on the street. Wang Konggang carefully checked his body to see if there was any tracking device attached. After confirming that there was no tracking device, he sneered. Maybe he was too suspicious. After arriving at the hotel, Li Ran didn't even take a nap and went out with Fang Zhi. Zhou Yingsu muttered in Ren Xiaosu's room, "She went to meet the director privately, and now she doesn't let me go with her as a bodyguard. It's obvious that she is afraid that the director will take a fancy to me and let me play some role. How narrow-minded." Ren Xiaosu glanced at her and smiled. "Do you want to act in a movie? I know a director. If you really want to, after you help me with my things, I will take you to find him. I saved his life." Zhou Yingsu curled her lips. "Master, when did you save the director again? How come I don't know?" "There are many things you don't know," Ren Xiaosu asked. "Is the juice of the four-leaf clover confirmed to be correct? Don't make any mistakes. Take me to find him in the evening and see what he plans to do. Is this guy named Wen Konggyang very important?" Zhou Yingsu asked puzzledly. "It's not very important. We had some grudges before, but I'm more curious about what he was doing at Barrier 73, Ren Xiaosu thought. "I saw him near East Lake before, but I didn't see him during the melee. I'm sure he came for the lab data, but now that the melee is over, why didn't he leave? Barrier 73 is obviously not a place for a transcendentist. If there is a slight mistake, I'm afraid he will be hunted down by the Zhou family." So Ren Xiaosu was thinking, is the lab incident still not over? The answer to this question can only be revealed in the evening. Chapter 546. I think I've seen this scene before. "Then will I go fight with you tonight?" Zhou Yingsu said with a solemn oath. "Then I'll catch up on some sleep first, and I won't embarrass you tonight." When Ren Xiaosu heard the word fight, he suddenly felt like a street thug who had made an appointment to fight with someone. However, at this moment, there was a knock on the door of Zhou Yingsu's room next door. Zhou Yingsu got up and went out curiously. "Who would knock on my door at this time? I just checked in, and it's not time to clean up, right?" As she said, she had already opened the door, but saw a group of people outside. Seeing Zhou Yingsu next door, and led by a middle-aged man, they rushed into Ren Xiaosu's room. Li Ran behind these people had a dark face. She had just gone to meet the director of the crew in the morning, but the director read the newspaper and learned that she had a superhuman bodyguard, so he immediately asked Li Ran to lead the way to the hotel, wanting to interview Zhou Yingsu and supplement the content of his previous documentary about superhumans. Li Ran was embarrassed to stop her, so she had to bring the crew and the director to the hotel before she started the audition. The director smiled happily when he saw Zhou Yingsu and came over to shake hands. "You must be Miss Zhou Yingsu. I have heard of your name for a long time." However, when Zhou Yingsu saw the other party's hand extended, she immediately took a step back and said cautiously, "Speak properly, don't touch me." How could anyone shake Zhou Yingsu's hand casually? The master is still in the room. It would be bad if the master saw it. The middle-aged man saw that Zhou Yingsu did not shake hands with him, but he did not get angry. Instead, he introduced himself and said, "Hello, I am Yu Wanj, a director." At this point, he accidentally saw Ren Xiaosu sitting by the window, and saw Ren Xiaosu looking at him calmly. Ren Xiaosu thought that he had been wearing a big hood before, and it was dark, and the other party should only be able to see his face below his nose in the chaos. In this case, the other party should not be able to recognize him. However, he immediately found out that he was wrong, and saw that Yu Wanj looked at him with a fiery look, which did not look like a normal person. "Benefactor!" Yu Wanj shouted. This shout frightened Zhou Yingsu and Li Ran. Everyone stared at Yu Wanj walking towards Ren Xiaosu. Li Ran was confused. How did Ren Xiaosu become a benefactor? What the hell was this turn of events? What made her unhappy was that the director who had just been so high and mighty in front of her was now more polite to Zhou Yingsu and Ren Xiaosu. Li Ran knew that Yu Wanj was obsessed with supernatural beings and even wanted to make a movie starring all supernatural beings, but such a big director would not be so kind and polite to supernatural beings. And what did Yu Wanj call Ren Xiaosu just now? Benefactor? Wait, Ren Xiaosu is Yu Wanj's benefactor? Exclamation mark. Li Ran asked curiously, "Director Mu, what are you doing?" But Yu Wanj suddenly said to everyone behind him, "Please go out for a while. I have something to say to this young man." After that, he kicked everyone out. Li Ran was at a loss. Should he be the protagonist today? Yu Wanj turned around and said to Ren Xiaosu kindly, "My benefactor." Ren Xiaosu shook his head. "You got the wrong person. How could we, who are into visual arts, get the wrong person? Even if you only showed your chin that night, I would have recognized you. Muanj rubbed his hands and said, "Can you sign an autograph for me?" "No," Ren Xiaosu declined politely, and in his heart he was thinking about whether to kill someone to silence him. Of course, things only last a moment these days. Fortunately, Muanj didn't know about Lao Su, otherwise he would have to think about it seriously. Muanj said seriously, "Don't worry, I will keep your affairs confidential, I swear to God, but I really want to ask you to act in my movie." But Ren Xiaosu was really not interested in this kind of thing. He stood up and said, "You'd better keep it confidential, otherwise you also know my methods. If my identity is leaked, you will have nowhere to escape." After that, Ren Xiaosu pushed the door open and walked out. He walked through the crowd outside the door and motioned Zhou Yingxia to follow him. After the two left, those outside the door had not yet reacted to what happened. But Muanj walked out of the room and said to Li Ren enthusiastically, "Do you want to play the leading actress?" Li Ren replied in a daze, "Of course." "Well, if you can find a way to bring them to the set, and even play 1 or 2 roles, I will give you the leading actress," and Muanj left. Li Ren was in a very complicated mood. Why did she feel that she suddenly became a gift? It was the kind of lucky bead given away when buying jade. At this time, Muanj said to the crew member next to her while walking, "Did you capture the backs of the two of them just now?" "I captured it, but I always feel that the relationship between them does not seem to be that of a bodyguard and a bodyguard assistant," the staff member muttered. "I feel that the female extraordinary person seems to subconsciously listen to the boy's words." She left with a look from the other party. Muanj took a deep breath. Of course, it should be like this. The other party disguised himself as an assistant to hide his identity. He recalled the scene that night. How could such an extraordinary person become someone else's assistant? He watched the backs of Ren Xiaosu and Zhou Yingxia leaving. Muanj imagined a mysterious young man with his beautiful followers. This should be the mysterious world in the movie. Muanj thought for a while and said, "Destroy all the captured footage. If you secretly take video footage without the permission of such a person, it will cause you to be killed if you are discovered." At this time, Zhou Yingxia followed behind Ren Xiaosu and asked, "Master, did you really save a director? Then can you let him arrange me as the heroine? Let that Li Ren play a maid for me." "Master, when did you save him?" "Master." Ren Xiaosu couldn't help but turn around and glared at her. "If you don't shut up and look for someone, the 20% share will be reduced to 10% in the future." Zhou Yingxia immediately shut up and honestly began to sense the smell of the 4-leaf clover and look for Wang Kongyang's traces. The two walked nearly 30 kilometers in the barrier before they began to approach Wang Kongyang. Zhou Yingxia looked at the source of the smell and asked in confusion, "Is Jifang Park in front of us?" "That's where Zhou Ziling and Lu Olan met. Wang Kongyang is inside now." Ren Xiaosu took Zhou Yingxia to the rooftop of a building. He set up his sniper rifle to observe the situation in the park, while Zhou Yingxia was cracking melon seeds beside him. At this moment, Ren Xiaosu was a little dazed. Why does this scene seem to have happened before? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 547, Fire Company's Laboratory. Ren Xiaosu remembered that it was the same last time. He set up the sniper rifle while Zhou Yingxia was cracking melon seeds beside him. After the two of them finished their mission and went downstairs, Zhou Yingxia was surrounded and called for help. Ren Xiaosu looked at Zhou Yingxia unhappily and said, "Stop cracking melon seeds. Use the telescope to check the situation." The two looked into the park. Ren Xiaosu found Wang Kongyang at a glance. He was sitting on a bench reading a newspaper, as if he was an ordinary person, enjoying the fresh air in the park. This sitting lasted for 4 or 5 hours. Ren Xiaosu was more and more sure that there was something wrong with the other party coming to Jifang Park. If a normal person had nothing to do, who would sit on a park bench for 4 or 5 hours? His butt would hurt too. Just as the sun was about to set, Zhou Yingxia suddenly said, "Master, there are a few suspicious people coming to the south of Jifang Park." Ren Xiaosu took the telescope and looked. Zhou Yingxia was right. The other party was wearing a black jacket and a knitted hat. When he walked, his arms swung asymmetrically, which was clearly because of the gun under his armpit. He looked at the other side and saw Wang Kongyang suddenly stood up and left the park. The two groups must have some connection. Ren Xiaosu guessed that the other party must be doing something in this Jifang Park. But what could be in this Jifang Park? It's just an ordinary park. Then, Ren Xiaosu saw the people in black jackets. Some of them took out a pocket instrument like a mobile phone. After fiddling with it for a long time, someone drew a circle on a piece of grass. After finishing, they left quickly, but not too far away. They just ate in the restaurant next to them, as if they were waiting for something. Are they trying to dig up the circled area? Zhou Yingsu asked curiously. It's just that there are still ordinary residents of the fortress in the park, so they can't do it. They want to wait until the curfew to do it. But why is Wang Kongyang here? Is he the leader and wants to dig something out of the park? Ren Xiaosu analyzed. He is very likely the mastermind of this operation. When you do intelligence work, the mastermind is usually hidden behind the scenes and doesn't follow the action, right? Yes, Zhou Yingsu nodded. Ren Xiaosu got interested now. What Wang Kongyang wanted to dig must be very valuable, right? Master, what should we do now? Zhou Yingsu asked. Of course, we'll rob him, Ren Xiaosu said with a smile. Wang Kongyang had troubled him several times before. How could he not trouble him once? What should we do? Wait until they finish digging, then we can go down. Zhou Yingsu asked. No, I'll deal with Wang Kongyang first. When they get scared and run away, we'll dig up the lawn and see what's inside, Ren Xiaosu said with a smile. As he said that, he took Zhou Yingsu downstairs and walked in the direction of Wang Kongyang. Unexpectedly, they just walked 2 streets and ran into Wang Kongyang head-on the street. Ren Xiaosu was wearing a hood and deliberately pulled the zipper up high. When he walked with his head down, the other party could only see his chin at best. Ren Xiaosu and Zhou Yingsu stood in place, and Wang Kongyang also stood in place. The two sides were deadlocked. However, although Wang Kongyang did not recognize Ren Xiaosu, he recognized Zhou Yingsu. In the morning, he had doubts about Zhou Yingsu. When he met a familiar face at this time, he only reacted in an instant and realized that he had been followed. At this time, a group of students who had just finished their evening self-study passed by them. Some students even looked at the three of them curiously, but they didn't care. They had to go home quickly because they would be under curfew soon. Just when the student passed by Ren Xiaosu and Zhou Yingsu, Wang Kongyang turned around and ran away. Ren Xiaosu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Wang Kongyang was still as cautious as before. He didn't even think about fighting and just ran away. We've alerted the enemy, Ren Xiaosu sighed. He and Zhou Yingsu couldn't chase him. It would be too conspicuous to start a chase on the street at this time. It might even be surrounded by Zhou's troops. You know, there are also extraordinary people in Zhou's troops. Zhou Yingsu next to him said cautiously, Master, my 4-leaf clover can only determine the direction, but not the distance. I didn't expect him to be walking towards us. It's okay, Ren Xiaosu glanced at the sky. Since we alerted them, the people who were responsible for the excavation should have left. Wang Kongyang will definitely find a way to notify his accomplices. Let's go to the park now to see what's there. Don't follow her. Go back to the hotel. It's a bit dangerous here. Ren Xiaosu meant that although Zhou Yingsu is also an extraordinary person, she would hold him back here. After all, her fighting ability was too poor. Zhou Yingsu was thinking that the master was concerned about her safety. Master, I'll go with you, Zhou Yingsu said obediently. Go. Okay. Ren Xiaosu found a public toilet to change his clothes, and summoned Shadow to put on his clothes and put on a Zubeiji mask. He couldn't wear the white mask he had worn before, as it would easily attract hatred if someone saw him. Taking advantage of the curfew, Ren Xiaosu quickly rushed to Jifang Park, Shadow in front and him behind. What surprised Ren Xiaosu was that before he got there, he heard the sound of a shovel digging the ground. Wait, didn't Wang Kongyang notify his accomplices to leave? Why are these people still digging? He controlled Shadow to go over, and the other party was not surprised to see Shadow wearing a mask. After all, they didn't want to reveal their identities to the consortium when doing dirty work. But the people in black jackets looked at Shadow and said, Wang Kongyang, right? Where's the steam train? Ren Xiaosu was hiding nearby and was stunned when he heard this. Did they mistake Shadow for Wang Kongyang? Exclamation mark. Could it be that Wang Kongyang was not in the same group with them, so Wang Kongyang did not inform them that he was discovered? But why did the other party want Wang Kongyang's steam train? It seemed that the steam train had some use, and it was also necessary to confirm the identity of Wang Kongyang through the steam train. However, he thought about it, gritted his teeth and summoned the steam train through the air, and deliberately controlled the train not to make a loud noise. The man in the black jacket looked at the steam train and nodded with satisfaction, saying, "Okay, confirm the identity. After the information is dug out later, we will take your steam train to break through the barrier. You said that your maximum speed is 120 kilometers per hour, so the Zhou army will definitely not be able to catch up with you in the wilderness. When you are outside the barrier, there will naturally be people from the company to support you. The information is on your steam train. Since you have received the money, you must ensure that the information is foolproof." While speaking, someone had already dug up a piece of iron plate. The other party lifted the iron plate and drilled in. 15 minutes later, someone came up from below with a silver box. On the box, there was the flame logo of the fire company. Ren Xiaosu was dumbfounded. These people were from the spark company in disguise. It turned out that there really was a pre-disaster laboratory in Barrier 73. And because of Zhou's blockade, the spark company had not been able to successfully transport the data out, so they asked Wang Kongyang to come. They wanted to use Wang Kongyang's steam train to directly break through. Has Wang Kongyang started to switch to logistics and express delivery now? Ahem, please vote for the monthly ticket. It's the end of the month, please vote for the monthly ticket in your hands. Chapter 548, Garden Train. Ren Xiaosu controlled Shadow to wait beside the pit dug by the Spark Company. The Spark Company left 3 people outside, and the other 6 people all entered the pit, constantly putting the information inside into the safe, and then transported it out of the underground laboratory. Ren Xiaosu wanted Shadow to look inside the laboratory, but was stopped by 3 people on the ground. "You are only responsible for escorting, don't worry about other things." Shadow nodded and stood aside in silence. Ren Xiaosu thought, then I will wait for these people to move the information to my steam train. The laboratory information that so many people are fighting for, the laboratory information that is said to be extremely expensive, is actually about to be handed over by the Spark Company. I don't know how much the Spark Company will hate Wang Kongyang after discovering it. The members of the Spark Company next to them did not doubt anything. In fact, they were still very cautious. When they saw Wang Kongyang, they first verified his extraordinary ability. This ability was also consistent, and no one could impersonate him. After all, everyone's ability is unique. Those with similar abilities are also extraordinary people who control elemental systems, such as water and fire. But there can't be 2 identical steam trains. As the underground continued to dig and boxes were delivered one by one, a member of the Spark Company looked at Shadow and said, "I will pay 50% of the remuneration to your account now, and I will pay you the remaining 50% when it arrives outside the barrier. Your account is still the same as before, right?" Ren Xiaosu was immediately anxious. How could the money be transferred to Wang Kongyang's account? He had done the work himself, so the money should be paid to him. Shadow quickly used a branch to scratch out a string of account numbers on the grass, followed by 6 words, "Good people live a peaceful life." The members of the Spark Company were all amused. "You want to change to a new account, right? Okay." As he said that, he signaled the person next to him to transfer money to this account. According to the agreement, it was 2 million, and a deposit of 1 million was paid first. The members of the Spark Company looked at Shadow. "I've heard that you, Wang Kongyang, are extremely cautious. I didn't expect you to be so covered up, and you don't even want to talk. What's the matter? Are you afraid that someone will find you through the sound?" The fact that Shadow couldn't speak was directly interpreted by the other party as Wang Kongyang's caution. At this moment, Ren Xiaosu suddenly felt that Wang Kongyang's identity seemed to be quite useful in Central Plains. As for whether Wang Kongyang would suffer after using it, what did it have to do with him, Ren Xiaosu? At this time, the underground material seemed to have been moved, and the members of the Spark Company loaded 13 boxes onto the steam train. However, before they could evacuate, several flashlights were approaching outside Jifang Park. The members of the Spark Company immediately frowned and looked at Wang Kongyang. "Are you betraying us?" Shadow shook his head. One of the members of the Spark Company looked carefully at the source of the light. "It's Zhou's patrol unit, maybe just a daily patrol. Kill them or just leave." "Kill this combat team." One of them drew his sword from his waist. T-4138, You take the other 5 people to cover the rear, kill this combat team, and the 3 of us will follow the steam train to leave. After killing them, the 6 of you will continue to lurk in the safe house and wait for new tasks in the future for barrier number 73. Understood, T-4138 and others said respectfully. We must give them a chance to shoot, so that their attention will be attracted to Jifang Park, and we can leave with the information more smoothly. Understand? Understood. T-4138 and others replied. Ren Xiaosu listened nearby, and was surprised that these people actually called each other by code names. In the darkness of Jifang Park, the 6 members of the Spark Company quietly killed their way over, and the patrol unit was ambushed before it could get close to the area where the steam train was. Horizontal ellipsis. The patrol team patrolled in Jifang Park in a normal patrol formation. 30 people walked in 2 rows. Because of security regulations, these people did not even open the safety of their guns. Moreover, the first 2 bullets in the magazine were blanks, which were used to warn. It was not that they were stupid, but that the security guards in the fortress were all like this. However, when they passed a forest in the park, there was a sudden noise behind them. The team leader looked back and found that the 6 comrades at the end of the team had been cut in the throat. Moreover, the murderer did not run away, but smiled at them. Fight! Fire! The team leader shouted. As he said that, everyone opened the safety of their guns, but the 6 people who attacked them were like ghosts. They were so fast in the woods that the muzzles of the guns could not catch up with their speed. A gust of wind blew, and the leaves rustled. The opponent's footsteps seemed to be right next to them, but the patrol troops could not tell where the enemy was. Suddenly, gunshots rang out in Jifang Park. Since the fall of Donghu Lake, the nerves of the entire number 73 fortress were like a string stretched tight. What was unexpected was that after such a strict alert, someone still committed a crime, and the perpetrator was a patrol unit. Hearing the gunshots, a member of the Spark Company next to Shadow said to Shadow, "Let's go, Wang Konggang, break out of the east gate directly, break through the gate, and then turn southeast, someone will pick us up." Shadow got on the steam train first, and the people of the Spark Company kept a close eye on Wang Konggang in the driver's car to prevent him from cheating. Ren Xiaosu took advantage of them getting on the train and climbed out of the car. The steam train started, but the people of the Spark Company suddenly found that the steam train did not go outside Jifang Park, but kept circling inside Jifang Park. After the members of the Spark Company found out about this, they frowned and said, "Why don't you leave? What are you doing in Jifang Park? Do you think you are driving a park train?" As a result, they saw Wang Konggang pull out a black knife out of thin air. The members of the Spark Company sneered, "So you want to rob your fellow thieves, but don't you consider whether you are qualified? There are 3 of us, but you are only 1. The power of the steam train has been used, and we are in the train. Can you still kill us?" In fact, according to the thoughts of the members of the Spark Company, it was not wrong at all. A transcendent has one ability. Now everyone is in the steam train. Wang Konggang's physical fitness may not be as good as their genetically modified warriors, so Wang Konggang's desire to rob his fellow thieves is almost the same as seeking death. The only thing they didn't expect was that the person in front of them was not Wang Konggang, or to be more precise, the person in front of them was not even a person. Suddenly, the steam train braked sharply, and because of the huge inertia, the 3 members of the Spark Company staggered and pounced on the Shadow. Chapter 549 The Black Pot Brothers. The steam train stopped suddenly while running at high speed. If there is no accurate prediction to change the balance of the body due to the inertia, it will inevitably lead to a huge mistake of losing balance. Balance is one of the most important things for every fighter. Not to mention the duel between extraordinary people. Even in the fighting competition of ordinary people, a fighter who loses balance will become a fish on the chopping board of others. The physical fitness of the members of the Fire Company is extremely strong, and ordinary extraordinary people cannot compare with them, so when they lose balance, they quickly use their feet to adjust their balance so that they will not be particularly embarrassed and bump into Shadow's knife. But if there is a mistake, there will definitely be a flaw. But Shadow was seen holding a black knife and passing through the 3 people. The members of the Fire Company swung their knives hard to chop Shadow, but they were shocked to find that their knives chopped on Shadow, but the other party did not even hum, as if the 3 of them were not waving knives in their hands, but pieces of paper. At this time, Shadow's black knife had arrived. A member of the Fire Company instinctively raised his arm, trying to use his arm to slow down the speed of the black knife, but when the black knife passed through his arm, there was no delay at all. Such a sharp knife? The member of the fire company was shocked. It's you. Who are you and why are you against my fire company? But he lost consciousness as soon as he finished speaking. Ren Xiaosu had dealt with the fire company more than once or twice before. The fire company had long discovered that someone could cut a human body in half with a sharp weapon. Don't listen to the storyteller's story, but in reality, there are very few knives that can do this, so cutting a human body in half is usually done with great strength, not how sharp the knife itself is. When the fire company collected the corpses before, it found that the bones of the corpses were extremely flat and smooth. This is the power of the knife. After the 3 members of the fire company died, Ren Xiaosu waved his hand and dispersed the steam train. He stuffed all 13 boxes containing laboratory materials into the storage space, and then left before Zhou's troops arrived at Jifang Park. Moreover, Ren Xiaosu also took away the bodies of 3 members of the Spark Company. The other party recognized him just now, although he still didn't know what his identity was, but if the Spark Company found the body, they would probably know that Wang Konggang didn't do it. That won't do. If you want to pass the buck, you have to pass it off completely. Not long after Ren Xiaosu left, the 6 members of the Spark Company who were responsible for the rear also fled quickly. They didn't know what happened to Ren Xiaosu, and they just thought the mission was very successful. When they returned to the safe house and contacted the headquarters to report the situation on their side, the T3 commander in charge of this matter at the headquarters said that the steam train didn't leave the barrier at all, and didn't even see it leave the park. At this time, the Spark Company realized that something had happened. Something big happened. The commander on the other side of the satellite phone asked coldly, "The extraordinary person in charge of escorting is called Wang Konggang, right?" The 6 members of the Spark Company hurriedly answered, "Yes, it is Wang Konggang. His ability is to summon a steam train. We all saw it with our own eyes." "Okay, I will send an internal email to arrest him," the commander said and hung up the phone, then said to the person next to him, "The deposit of 1 million has been paid, trace the receiving account." At this time, the tiger-toothed girl in the residential area stared at the screen in front of her. She was suddenly stunned for a moment, because a remittance of 1 million suddenly appeared in a certain account that was monitored before. Strange, isn't this the account that their Anjing Temple sent out? The other party didn't accept any new tasks. Where did the money come from? She made a phone call to find out the source of the funds. It didn't matter if she didn't check it. Once she checked it, she found that the 1 million was actually remitted from the account of the Spark Company. What the hell, didn't that guy kill a lot of people in the Spark Company? Why did the Spark Company give him money? Did they kill all the people? This is too weird. I have to tell the boss quickly. The Pyrotechnics Company is also tracking down the accounts. The account information in these consortium banks is too easy to obtain. Of course, Anjing Temple is different from Pyrotechnics Company. Pyrotechnics is a consortium-level organization, so the accounts have always been public. The tiger-toothed girl found it out as soon as she checked. However, Anjing Temple has all secret accounts. When Pyrotechnics Company found this account, they didn't know who opened it. But they looked at the transaction records of this account. On the night of the fall of Donghu Lake, someone transferred 300,000 yuan to this account. It was clearly the price of a member of the early morning team that Anjing Temple offered to the killers. Therefore, Pyrotechnics Company immediately associated it with Anjing Temple. The commander reported the matter to the past. It is said that the senior management of Pyrotechnics Company was extremely angry, because if Wang Konggang was really from Anjing Temple, then they, Pyrotechnics, lost in the confrontation with Anjing Temple this time. It doesn't matter if a few people die, but the laboratory data is crucial. If Wang Konggang was really from Anjing Temple, then the other party would have easily cheated them of the information. The senior executives of Spark Company felt that their IQ was insulted. At this time, Wang Konggang was already in the wilderness outside the number 73 barrier. When he found that he was being followed, he immediately gave up his mission and fled. For a person like him, what else could be more important than life? But as he walked, Wang Konggang suddenly found that something was not right. He suddenly raised his hand in the deserted wilderness and summoned a huge black pot out of thin air. Wang Konggang was stunned. "What the hell is this?" Exclamation mark. Wait, black pot? Why does he feel familiar? Wang Konggyang and Su Zianchu were former comrades in arms, so he was quite concerned about Su Zianchu's news. Wang Konggyang knew that Su Zianchu had such a black pot. It was said that the black pot was extremely powerful, bulletproof, and could shoot people. But why did he have another black pot? Although he had heard that some extraordinary people had two abilities, this was too wrong. Moreover, what the hell is it that he and Su Zianchu each have their own black pot? Black pot brothers? Unlike Su Zianchu, who happily accepted the big black pot, Wang Konggyang immediately felt that there must be something fishy. The black pot definitely did not appear because he himself awakened a new ability, but because of some external factors. But he couldn't figure out what the external factors were. At the same time, Zhou's troops began to block Jifang Park, and a superhuman followed the troops into the park. The officer of this Zhou's troops said politely to the superhuman, "Mr. Li, please start." The man named Mr. Li was a middle-aged man, not good-looking, but in good spirits. He raised his hand and waved out a white mist, and the white mist slowly showed a strange image next to the pit dug by the Spark Company. In the image, the people of the Spark Company were talking to Wang Konggyang, and next to them, there was a steam train parked. Chapter 550 Backlash. If Ren Xiaosu was present, he would immediately understand that this extraordinary person named Li had the ability to restore what happened in a place before. In the white fog, in the light and shadow, the actions of the Spark Company and Wang Konggyang were exactly the same. Mr. Li, go back a little further, we still want to see the whole story, said Officer Zhou. Someone next to him set up a camera and prepared to record these scenes. Mr. Li nodded. The time in the fog seemed to be played backwards, and the movements were a little distorted. The light and shadow in the fog went back to the time when the Spark Company dug the ground and Wang Konggyang just appeared. Mr. Li shook his head. I can only trace back so far, and fortunately there are not many people here, otherwise I can't even gather light and shadow. Okay, thank you for your hard work, Officer Zhou said politely. Please ask your assistant to translate what they are saying. Mr. Li already had an assistant who could read lips standing next to the figure. As soon as the people from the Spark Company opened their mouths, he would immediately translate the language based on the other party's lip shape. Wang Konggyang, right? Where is the steam train? Okay, confirm the identity, and wait until the information is dug out. The words said by the Spark Company were translated one by one. From beginning to end, the Wang Konggyang in the time and shadow did not say a word. Then, they discussed killing the patrol troops, and then Wang Konggyang took the members of the Spark Company on the train and left. The light and shadow stopped here, as if Mr. Li's ability had reached its limit, but there was an accident in the last scene. I saw an extremely vague figure coming out of the woods, clinging to the car body, and leaving with the train. Who is this? Officer Zhou asked in surprise. We didn't see him before. Where was he hiding? Mr. Li pointed to the woods next to him. He has been hiding there all the time. Because he didn't show up, we didn't see him either. That's strange. Who is this person? Is he following the people from the fire company or the Anjing temple? Officer Zhou frowned and said, but Mr. Li, why can't I see his face clearly? It's as if there is a layer of fog covering his body. Mr. Li himself also felt a little strange. He walked closer and carefully looked at the figure of Ren Xiaosu, who was clinging to the car body. There was indeed a layer of fog on the other person's body, making it impossible to see his appearance and clothes. They could only tell that it was a person. This has never happened before, Mr. Li asked curiously. Why is this person so special? We found bloodstains on the ground nearby, but no bodies, and the steam train did not leave the park, Officer Zhou said, so we suspect that something happened in the park after the steam train left. Can you show more light and shadows so that we can see what happened at that time? Mr. Li shook his head. It can only be used once a day. If you use it again tomorrow, the time limit will have passed. Then can you find a way to see this blurry figure clearly? I think he may be the key figure in this incident, Officer Zhou asked. I'll try my best, Mr. Li said. At this time, the steam train stopped in front of them. In the light and shadow, Ren Xiaosu still kept the action of climbing onto the car body just now, as if a movie was paused. Mr. Li stood in front of Ren Xiaosu and raised his hand to wave out another piece of light and shadow, as if he wanted to dispel the layer of white mist on Ren Xiaosu. But when the light and shadow fell on Ren Xiaosu, the blurry figure suddenly moved. In the light and shadow, the steam train was still suspended, but Ren Xiaosu turned around and looked at Mr. Li calmly. The eyes were cold but very intimidating. The other party just looked at him quietly, but Mr. Lee felt like he was being stared at by a beast. In the blurry figure, only this pair of eyes was extremely clear. Mr. Lee spit out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground dejectedly. No, I can't see clearly. It's so strange. Who is this person? Why can he backfire my ability? There was an uproar around, and no one expected such a result. In the past, when Mr. Lee helped to solve the case, he was always successful. It was easy to find some criminals, but this time he failed, and Mr. Lee was backfired. It can be said that Mr. Lee's extraordinary ability came from a strange place. He was just an ordinary scientific research staff, but his wife was robbed and killed after get off work at night, so Mr. Lee was in great pain and vowed to catch the murderer. But the people from the order department said that there was no surveillance at the place where the robbery took place that day, and such a murderer was actually difficult to catch. As a result, Mr. Lee woke up himself and led the order department to find the face of the real murderer. Later, Mr. Lee did not hide his secrets. He would assist Joe in handling some more difficult cases every day, and then Joe would pay him a reward. Because his light and shadow could only see the face but could not hear the voice, he also specially hired an assistant who could translate lip language. And now, Ren Xiaosu, who was already hiding in the hotel, suddenly became dazed. Zhou Yingsu next to him asked curiously, "What's wrong, master?" Ren Xiaosu frowned. Just now it seemed like someone was peeping at me, but soon that feeling disappeared. I don't know what happened. Zhou Yingsu glanced at the window and had already drawn the curtains. There is no surveillance equipment in the room. I checked it. Okay, Ren Xiaosu nodded and took out the 13 boxes of information. Zhou Yingsu was immediately stunned. Master, what is this? Ren Xiaosu told her about what happened tonight. Basically, the fire company wanted to transport the laboratory information out, and he and the other party had a fight. Zhou Yingsu was speechless. So many things happened in one night. I thought you were just going to dig something, but I didn't expect a fight to happen. This is too dangerous. Well, they are quite dangerous, Ren Xiaosu answered absent-mindedly. His attention was already focused on the information in front of him. So, sir, are these all the information from that laboratory? Zhou Yingsu asked with bright eyes. Then if we sell these information, won't we have no worries about food and clothing for the rest of our lives? That requires a lifetime of hard work, Ren Xiaosu said calmly. Once you sell it, there will definitely be many people eyeing you. The Spark Company will probably chase you to the ends of the earth. Don't think you can be airtight. There is no airtight wall in this world. Therefore, if Ren Xiaosu really wants to sell the laboratory information, he has only two choices. One is Fortress 178, but he is not sure whether Fortress 178 is interested in this thing. The other is Quing's. Only by selling it to these two companies can Ren Xiaosu feel at ease. Please give me a monthly ticket. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.